Planning board to order. Town of Lakeville, Thursday, April 25th, 2019. And the first on our agenda is to meet with Mr. Lawrence Silva from Silva Engineering regarding site plan review for Main Street Lot number 3. Sir.
Good evening. I'm Larry Silva from Silva Engineering Associates. Offices at 1615 Bedford Street, Bridgewater. And so I am here as it relates to the Main Street site here, which you have plans in front of you. And basically where we are is just in the front portion of where the old hospital land is located, diagonally across from where Walgreens is located. So we're opposite Bridge Street on Main Street. So it's the proposal, it's probably better if I show you on this plan here. So you get a feel for it on an overlay. This is overlaid on an aerial so that you can see the grounds in the background here from the old hospital property here. And what we're proposing here is to have an entrance in off of Main Street. The proposed funeral home would be here. It's 65 by 104 with a canopy structure and with vestibule in the front, with a driveway there, and with parking basically all around the entire site in order to accommodate large gatherings. And we have a proposed septic system, which would be on the front side here. And we have drainage, which is in chambers that are along this entire stretch in this area to the left side of the building. And on the back side of the building, where there's the entrance and the overhead door, is a holding tank, which is required for separate holding tank for waste and for processing for the funeral business itself. So it's a standalone operation in this way. Everything is with 24-foot aisles, 9 by 18 parking spaces, and tastefully done in terms of landscaping in the front, along in here, throughout the site itself, and in this area here where there's a transition through to the main entrance. This is where the handicap parking will be located here for ease of access into the facility itself. And when you're building new now as opposed to older funeral homes that we've all been to, we try to stay away as much as we can, but when we've been to them, some of the older structures have handicap kind of accessibility issues. But here, we get to build it from the ground up, so you build the access into it right away. So that's pretty much an overview of what we're trying to achieve here. And everything is within code in terms of its location within the building setback line, which is shown here in the dotted area here. We're looking for this to be obviously an asset to the community itself, and to be something that looks good from Main Street itself. So, and in terms of signage, we're looking for signage to be sort of prominent in the center, in the front here.
Yeah.
In a landscape area right there. So that's kind of an overview of it, and I think that what I offer is that if whatever specific questions that you might want to discuss, that I can provide answers to as best I can. So with that,
Do you have a conceptual drawing of the building?
of the building itself, yes. I have the layout one here.
There you go.
And then, so in terms of we have floor plans of the of the layout itself. And then we have conceptual of how this would look from the front. So this is the front with the vestibule entrance on that side there. Side view showing that same vestibule entrance here. This is a really, really tasteful kind of look at it, but keeping with, with the setting in terms of buildings that are in Lakeville.
Do you want to make mention of the fire chief's notes?
Pardon me?
The fire chief had made some comments on that. I don't know if you want to-
Patty? Yes.
Was there any specific correspondence from him? Because we kept asking for,
Yeah.
we had a conversation with
Want me to
him.
read the notes?
Please, yeah.
So he had responded to the request. On the plans, it shows fire department connection to the sprinkler system on the rear of the building, and it's required on the front of the building. Secondly, he had concerns about the mezzanine on the front of the building, that would it be tall enough for an ambulance to fit under for
Right.
emergency calls? Tallest ambulance in town is 9'7" high.
Yep.
And then his last item of concern is the proposed entrance to the site. It's a single entrance. Because this single road could impair or be impaired by vehicle congestion, potential of large crowds, we are required a second access to the site.
Yeah, I had heard these three comments, I never saw them come forward in writing. There was a discussion about it with Rebecca, who's the lead civil in my office. And so as far as the connection, we understand that connection, and that connection would be in this area here of the building itself. But the sprinkler room's back here, but we understand that connection has to be in the front right.
The FEC in the front right? Yeah.
Yeah, so we were gonna amend the plan to have it in that location. The 9'7", we've already talked about that clearance and making sure that meets that minimum requirement. The third item about the entrance, we haven't provided for it, 2 access points. And I guess it's really not clear to me how this site really, in my opinion, how it necessitates having, two locations. It's not like it's a remote site. I mean, it's on Main Street here, its distance is a little over 110, 120 feet from actually Main Street itself. It just didn't seem like it posed that kind of situation in which 2 means of entrance, in my opinion, whether or not it was necessary. I know he's looking at it from his,
Right.
from his point of view. The other funeral home that's located on 18 is a single entrance situation too. So I just don't know, I didn't know where to go with that comment. Because I couldn't find anything in any regulation that suggested that needed to happen. I went through the fire codes, CMR 527, I didn't find anything to that effect. I didn't know, that's why I was wondering if he had a letter that actually showed where his reference was to that.
This is the only letter that the planning board received, I believe. Is that accurate, Kathy?
Yes.
No, I get what he's saying. He's saying to come in from 105 and to come across the front, he's thinking of going out the other side, which might be over where the other driveway is. But I also understand what Mr. Pardon me?
Near the crosswalk? Is that right?
No.
Oh, what the?
No, are you talking over,
Over here, where the.
Oh, in the street?
this
Right
is
there,
an
yes.
old entrance road that came in here, there's an
Right.
old parking lot that's up in this side.
Yeah,
And there was, I guess, an old connecting road that
Okay.
came in here somewhere.
yes,
So you'd be limited to your own frontage.
But this is what the lot is, how the lot is configured.
yes. But to come in on that side, and to come up back out on that side, I think, I think if we put that back into the, fire department, it's,
Well, I think that's, what he was concerned about was also congestion, right? That it would be, if it was congested and they needed to get services in there, that one driveway might be prohibitive for them. And he might be saying that from experience, because we've had, well, a place with one driveway, I don't know.
Yeah, so to speak to the Dalborg McNevin Funeral Home that does have the one entrance, I own a business near there, and oftentimes if he knows that there's gonna be a big turnout, he'll ask me, hey, can we park cars in your place? And my business closes by 4 o'clock, it doesn't have an issue, but oftentimes there's a lot of overflow that ends in my parking lot. I don't know how many parking spaces he has
Right.
in his parking lot, if it's, you have close to 90.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's limited to less than that, and that's why I get the overflow. But if,
I can tell you this from experience, that there is never enough parking spaces in this business. And I've been on both sides of it, including legal cases in Bridgewater, because we did a lot of work for, for Chapman Funeral Home, the old Prophet Funeral Home, in which over the years, they acquired properties in order to be able to get additional parking. We did a parking lot for them across the street. We did one to the right of their facility. And we even went to court, because we were trying to get the amount of parking increased at that point, to be allowed to be increased, because they were in an existing non-conforming, legal non-conforming use, because that's a residential zone. And we even went with a concept of dynamic seating, which was to say that when you go to a wake, you're not necessarily seating, you're not sitting, but what you are doing is you're moving from one seat to the other as you're moving the line. Okay, an active kind of seat, which is really sort of, should be taken into consideration when you're thinking about how many parking spaces that you need. So that's when you see your overflow, is for those kind of funerals in which it generates that kind of response. And in here, what we're trying to do is to make sure that we, that we're providing for a sizable amount of parking spaces on site, as opposed to having to go to an off-site scenario. But as far as the second entrance, I mean, that would, we don't have a direct connection at this point here with this lot to another parcel without some change in the, in what's being purchased there.
yeah, and I can't speak for the fire chief and what he said, and I know he's probably not thinking about overflow as much as he said, just congestion, and if there's an issue where he needs to get in with an ambulance, just wants to make sure he has access.
Yeah, so
So I think it's two different things, with overflow
Right,
and/or
right.
access.
If I may, I'm not sure, I've never been with the meeting, I'm Dave Russell from the funeral home. May I speak just for a second about that?
Sure.
Is that proper?
Sure.
Good, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. We recently, I'm third generation funeral homes, we started in 1901 in Brockton. Recently, a few years ago, we built a brand new facility in West Bridgewater. So I'm learning as I go on going through planning boards and conservation and things like that. But as a funeral director, 87 parking spots I was thrilled with, because that's huge. It's huge in our funeral service. But what I didn't come out and promise the town of West Bridgewater last time, but if I need to, I will, I hire a police officer detail every wake I have, whether I expect 5 people or 1,000 people. So I can't wait to meet the police chief and talk to them about that, but in West Bridgewater, we're right on Route 28, I hire a police detail for the remaining of the wake. So he's out there visible, getting people in and out at all times. The other, if I may speak off the record, so to speak, I've talked to people in the state about how this is all gonna happen, because with my last project, we had a few incidents with curb cuts. And my understanding is the state doesn't want another
want a second
entranceway.
one.
Yeah, on this property.
Right.
So whether or not, I mean, we will work this all out somehow, but I just wanted to bring up the police detail. And you don't know me, but I promise that just for me as business, I don't want people sitting out there also waiting to get into our funeral home or leaving our funeral home. And Mr. Silva brought up a great point. We're not a restaurant like Baldi's, and Baldi's has one entranceway. And you could be sitting in there for hours and hours having your dinner and lunch and your drinks and whatnot. So we are sort of, even though it's a funeral business, a lot of people are coming in to pay their respects and then leave, except for immediate family. So I hate to say it this way, but I was a little surprised about the fire department bringing that up. I was confused on what the issue really was.
Right.
But again, and also Derek, who's actually, we're in the process of buying the land from Derek. Hopefully in the future, when he develops his property, there is a parking lot that's already there, right behind our building. And in our purchase and sale, thank you.
You can actually see it on that.
He's allowing us to use that as overflow when the future
In
comes.
the back, right there. Well, I'm sorry, it's right here, right here.
Right, there's overflow for the parking facility if we need be. So, thank you, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I know you're talking about the entrance going away, but that is definitely my plan, is to have a police officer there every, us hiring them to be there for every wake that we have, so, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, at that point that he made about the state, I've been through this many times with Mass DOT, they don't want multiple cuts on a business, they want a single cut. I mean, I'll tell you where I fight it the most, is when I'm dealing with like Dunkin' Donut sites and so forth.
Gas station or something?
Yeah, Dunkin' Donut sites are one of the ones that, I've had to have discussions with them a number of times, about that whole issue, because they don't want it, they wanna have single points of entry, and, even when you try to make a case for them, when you want to, because in a Dunkin' Donut, when you wanna have a main entrance and you wanna have a drive-through exit, to be able to just exit back out, they don't wanna hear it, they really want, it's funny how they look at roads different than you and I look at roads. They look at roads as throughput. They look at, not that you're going somewhere along the stretch, but that you're going from A to some point B that's not around here. And
Is
they
that
wanna make it as efficient as
MassDOT?
possible. What's that?
MassDOT?
MassDOT. Yeah, so they wanna make it so that you're going through,
Yeah.
and, you know what I'm saying, that's how they look at it.
You're gonna tell us about MassDOT.
Okay.
They're geniuses and we're stupid. Typically, and they've come in here and told us that. Yeah.
Yeah, Derek Maxey, Lakeville. I just wanna say, this is the first project that's going on at the Lakeville Hospital. I'm excited about it because it's probably, since 1990. It's the first thing that's happening. I think it's a great thing for this location, and I'm just here to support it.
Thank you.
Sink.
Not that we say yea or nay on that, or, what's the frontage?
What's
What's your frontage on this?
the total frontage?
Yeah. How come it's such an odd-shaped lot? The reason I say that is because, there isn't any way that the outside of the lot relates to what's inside the lot. So the outside of the lot must be relating to something else, which has to do with other streets and other existing curb cuts that are around here. Can you tell us any more about that?
This,
Or you can ask Derek.
this relates to a master plan that was,
Which we haven't seen, that's the thing, we haven't seen it.
Correct, so,
And I really want to see it, I've got to find some way of getting this process into getting me a look at that.
Mr. Chairman, if I can?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and actually, my Dave Madigan's the surveyor for this property. What we tried to do is, anywhere there were existing roads, we tried to leave enough room there so that when we came in front of this board to propose something, we meet the minimum requirement that planning board would require. In this instance right here, you'll see it's like a little jog here and stuff.
Yeah.
This was a Mass DOT land taken when they were gonna do the Stop and Shop years ago. So that's actually where the set of lights would go, things like that. So we didn't want to,
But none of those were roads.
no, but that's the existing road there. So that's the
It
width.
was an existing way.
No, I understand that, but I didn't wanna come back later and say, Mr. Russell, I need 10 feet of land because I sold you too much. I wanna be able to have enough land to come to the planning board and say, listen, we think we can meet your minimum
That's
requirement.
where, this is where the road is,
Yeah.
but as
The way.
the way, in order to have this improved differently, in order to meet that overall plan,
Yeah.
they made that taking, out to here, that's what they did.
I think the reason was
So
to tie in the
no one's
bridge.
actually saying, proposing to close this one off,
No, not
which is
at
a
all.
considerable amount of parking.
Yeah.
All kinds of things could cover that if anybody would show us what those plans were. That would make this one more interesting. The next thing,
And if I may, there's also a road here that you don't see. You can kind of see it here.
Yeah.
You see a little bit right here, and it
Yeah.
comes right over to here. There's no curb cut there, but again, that might be something that your board might say, geez, we need you to have access to that.
you
So
can,
that
you
alone
could-
is being
you
separate.
could propose a road
Yes,
there,
exactly,
a new road.
yes, correct.
Yeah.
Don't you think that would be?
That's not an existing road.
Yeah, that, don't you think those two curb cuts would be extremely close, that they would never,
Yeah, that would be very close. Yeah,
They would-
I don't see them going for that.
Well, the bridge, I spend a lot of time sitting at Bridge Street, ready to, I'm familiar with the intersection. Very, very.
But you have to be, you have to be aware that you're dealing with Mass
Yeah,
Highway, DOT, whatever they call themselves right now. And they have a large opinion.
okay, now, back from, don't we remember there being a sewer line there that's never been used?
There was
A
a.
large sewer
Yeah.
line that goes to Middleborough?
Yes.
It's never been tied into yet.
There is a force main that they've always used.
Not a force main, I thought.
It is a
was
force main, it's a
is it?
force sewer main to Middleborough because they had to go under 495 and up again. That's why no one could tie into it except the hospital, so the state put that in.
And where's
There
the
was a
force-
pressure.
Where's the force from?
There's a little pump, it's down this way a little bit, it's crossing out, I think it's Laurie Lane, whatever they call that road there. That actually, the state owns, that would have pumped the sewer all the way to Middleborough, and it had to get up the hill near the Dunkin' Donuts and all.
But it's not an active line, and
It's
it's been
not.
abandoned by Middleborough.
It's just,
I can tell you it's
Never
been abandoned,
used, okay.
because I was working
You
on
sure?
what used to be the Chevy site,
Yeah,
okay, and it's abandoned at that point. We were trying to actually, in working on that Chevy site, we were trying to get them to allow for us to utilize it from there across 28 to, it's like 2 or 3 blocks down is where it ties in. And they didn't even want us to do that, but they conceded that we could do that if we basically sleeved it from that point. But then anything from that point going towards Lakeville was abandoned and could not be utilized. That was coming from them, from Middleborough, selectmen and
yeah.
town manager.
The timing on that, I had heard a story like that, but it was because they didn't have capacity in the plant, and they didn't want to add, a large customer like this was it was gonna be from Lakeville. But now that they've upgraded, they've done a very, very major upgrade in Middleborough, and I thought maybe they'd be.
I think that if,
interested again.
that particular line would not have any real benefit because it wasn't utilized for a long time and its integrity would be the problem. Not to say that it couldn't be sleeved inside the entire length, but I think that any kind of use of any kind of sewer from Middleborough is gonna require some sort of intermunicipal agreement that would allow for that, you know what I'm saying? Cause that's how every other one works that way, when you cross the line.
Wasn't trying to tell you how to, what you should do, I was just interested for the other people around there. If you could, if you were trying it, well, boy, there's a bunch of other people that could do that too.
Yeah.
Okay,
But we
It
went the
sounds
route
like
of
it's
doing
gonna
the
be
perk
a
test up
problem
front.
because it's a force main.
yeah.
It's gonna have to be lifted and, it's gonna have to be repaired to get to that point.
Where's the lot line back off the street?
That's a good point.
What?
Just appears that the front lot line isn't to the road, like there's no frontage, and I just don't understand.
You know, who's gonna be left owning
No,
that?
that's the width of the right of way. So in other words, the right of way is comprised of improved roadway and unimproved roadway.
Right.
Much the same as any road anywhere in town, anywhere. A lot of front lawns, are still within right of ways.
Okay, and the right of way has that jog in it and
And it
everything?
has that jog, and as Derek has said, that was for planned improvements for a potential, light at that intersection.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a set of those drawings.
If I could just speak to that, my name's Dave Madigan from Madigan Land Surveying. I was the original surveyor. So the actual layout of Main Street, you can see the big bold line, it does a little jog, comes down, hits this little curve, and actually this line that Larry left in here is the state layout line. Because the state made a taking back in, I don't know exactly the date, but to speak to Mr. Knox's concern with frontage, the actual layout line is way back here. So for instance, if this next person down started to do his frontage, he'd be picking up off of this corner and coming around. So there's over 200 feet of frontage for this particular lot, starting at this corner and going all the way over to this radius.
Who's responsible for maintaining that land right there?
Well, it's act-
Well, the state owns it, right?
Yeah, it's in the state layout.
So nobody has to really maintain it, other than what you do on your own.
I think they would mow it to keep it nice.
Yeah.
I think that's
Well,
basically
Just
what
to not be a fire hazard,
We'll
yeah.
make it very nice.
Yeah, because there's a shrub line that's within it, that,
Would you think that there would be people crossing the crosswalk and need a way other than going all the way down and going up the car drive? As far as walking pedestrians, to get in, do you think about any kind of access walking wise? Because you don't.
what you're saying is that if the.
Well, the crosswalk, like,
the
just,
crosswalk is here.
it just screams right at you, and I can see people crossing there, people will park wherever they want, they do. And if people park at, say, Walgreens, they'll be like, oh, I'll just park over here, cause I'll get out, and then they cross, and, how will they get in? They'll go down the sidewalk and go up the driveway?
There's a crosswalk here,
Yeah,
then there's another crosswalk here.
correct.
And then they'd be able to go across the sidewalk before they came in.
And so you guys would be putting in the sidewalk?
No, it's there
There is an
already.
existing
There is an existing
sidewalk
sidewalk
there.
there,
There's an
okay.
actual-
I was saying,
It's in the pictures.
would you
Pretty
think
new.
about tying into that, across your front,
What are you talking about in here?
yeah, exactly, for a, more of a, just a.
Well, I think that,
Or would that invite what you
that's
don't want the
basically
traffic?
saying, we're putting in a provision to tell people to park on somebody else's
I know.
property, and I don't think that's the message we wanna give.
Well, yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's where we really wanna,
well, you don't want people walking in a two-way driveway either, if they're on a sidewalk, it's,
That's an
it's,
excellent point.
it's only wide enough for two cars as it is.
Especially if you have people coming in a wheelchair. But his point is well taken too.
I know you don't wanna invite the, foot traffic, from, coming across the way, but people do park wherever they want. It's just what they do,
yeah, I really don't know how to address that one, because, like I say, it's not like we wanna encourage someone to
Yeah.
park on somebody else's property. But I do understand, you're saying is that, should we provide some sort of connecting walkway that comes in from that crosswalk?
Or perhaps even just a little walkway with some.
I don't even
steps
think
or
you'd lose any
something.
parking, actually, you know what I mean? You bring it right into the radius, of.
Well, who picks up the insurance for somebody parking across the street on somebody else's property?
What do you mean, the insurance, like, their car, or if they get hurt?
Well, everything is a liability.
I think it's a legitimate point, however, because when you do have very large volume and you're gonna have people ultimately parking on the street or whatever, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I honestly think that will probably be the, if there was another method other than getting to that one driveway, but no, sorry.
Well, we did hear earlier that there was parking available behind this property on the hospital site.
Will that be like, would that be available like when this opened? Like,
Available now.
well, how would they cross the property? I don't see a way for people to walk, you know? They're just gonna hightail it across, or,
Well, it's
It's just level ground from the parking lot right to theirs. Right now, there's some trees and stuff, but they're gonna be taking a lot of those down. So it'll just be grass, they can walk right across the grass. to get-
wheelchairs or handicapped people can walk through there, or like snow
think they
in
would-
the.
No,
I'm just being the devil's advocate. You can't say grass and dirt, you know, level dirt. It has to be paved, because then you have to be able to shovel it. You know. You know what I mean?
We're showing grading because there is a topography change coming down from here. What Derek is indicating is that he's granting permission to the buyer to allow for this to be graded out so that it's more of a level kind of grade across here. And in doing so, I would imagine that what we could do is provide for a connection with a walkway that would get you to that parking lot.
Are you assuming that most of your handicap parking are going to be on the paved areas around the building?
It's right directly in the front.
And thereby making it a little bit more advantageous for the handicapped people to park near the building?
Absolutely. If I may?
Yes, sir.
In our other locations, especially in Brockton, technically for the spaces we have, what is required for our handicap spots. However, every funeral, I know you don't know me, but every funeral, every wake, we have at least 3 people working the wakes. Usually somebody's always in our parking lot. We almost do valet. If they're handicapped, pull right up to our front door, we're opening up the doors, we'll take care of your car, and we'll meet you when you get back out, if the handicap spots are full. What I really appreciate as a funeral home is this layout of 80, again, I can't stress enough, 87 parking spots. I would, if you can find 87 spots somewhere else at another funeral home, that's unbelievable. And that's why this project is really, I love the idea about it, because if you said, I got 60 spots, 50 spots, maybe, okay? In our West Bridgewater location, we have 58 spots. We hire a police officer every time, they're nice enough to let us use the breakdown lane on the highway, which is a very wide road. So that's okay. In Brockton, we have a side street. But the reason I'm here is I am a new Lakeville resident. A lot of Brocktonians have moved down here, and I know the need of the community. And I would not be doing this project if I could not provide a beautiful building, beautiful parking area, and great service at a reasonable price. And that's half of our battle. But with this parking lot with handicapped people, I know it's not on the plans now, but we might say, let's put a couple more spots in. The carport, nobody's parking underneath the carport, it's double wide. Have somebody just park there. Our people there to guide people. Park right there, sir. We're all set, you know, with your car. So my opinion, I wouldn't be worried about handicap because we need to please these people. Last thing anybody wants to do is go to a funeral home, a restaurant, or anything and not be able to park. And that's part of our strategy here is to, hey, we can handle thousands of people. To the crosswalk that we're talking about, and you brought up a good point about liability. There was a certain funeral home somewhere that was using somebody else's parking lot, and sure enough, somebody broke their ankle, and all of a sudden, that doesn't happen anymore. I don't want people parking at Walgreens, CVS, Shell gas station down the street and walking up. So that's when, if all of a sudden, God forbid, there's a tragedy, and we know there's 1,000 people coming, I hire 3 police officers to be at every intersection to help us out. Again, I know you don't know me, and I don't want to think that I'm trying to snowball you at all. I want things to run as smoothly as possible, because the last thing I want to hear is, oh, I couldn't get into the wake because of a traffic jam, or I couldn't pay my respects to a loved one because it was just chaos. And so that's why I really like this layout, and Derek was nice enough, when we do get this land about that back parking lot overflow and that way, that goes out back. Let's just say our parking lot's full, the police officers out there would, I'll say, go up to the way and
Right.
get into out back. And yes, with our grading, it's not on there, but if it comes to that, we do wanna make an attractive walkway. Yes, we'll have to figure out how to make it handicap accessible, but again, if they're handicapped, come to our front door, we're gonna take care of you, you know, and we'll figure out afterwards, so, that's my opinion, thanks.
Good feature.
Welcome to Lakeville, by the way. It's a great
Thank
town.
you so, that's awesome, thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, when I said handicapped, when you connect two parking lots, if he's gonna have a paved parking lot and his new parking lot, all I was saying is, it can't be just graded soil or grass, it has to be a plowable or shovelable, you know, hard surface. It just has to be, you know,
Yeah.
look at the rain we just got in the last 4 days, there's no walking across anything.
Has it
so
stopped? Yeah, it hasn't stopped.
It's about to start back up, so. That was my only point. You know, obviously the handicapped people know what they need to do, but, you know, some people don't park in there, they don't wanna be, you know, they wanna do whatever they want, so.
There's existing pavement back there, you know, granted, some of it's not in very good shape, but it is paved, that parking lot in the back there. So, I mean, certainly there may have to be some improvements to certain parts of it, you know, some potholes and stuff, but there is pavement. back
What's the
there.
grade difference between Derek's site and yours? It
Well,
looks like
right
7 feet.
now, well, in between, there's a grade increase in here, then it comes kind of back down a little bit in here, kind of flattens out. So what we're looking to try to do is to get it to come down. I think it's somewhere in the 105 versus, 115, it's here. And we're looking at 109 in this area, 110 here.
60.
So it does come down, it kind of slopes down in this direction here. The parking lot itself has a gradient going towards the south. But we're going to basically spread those grades out in order to make it a transition. So it's not gonna be steep like we're showing here. He's gonna allow for it to be graded in to meet into it.
Me, sort of reading into record here, this looks like a slab on grade,
Yes.
and it looks like a single story that under the eaves is all just, I mean, there's no second floor.
Came to space on the second floor.
Pardon?
James Perry, I'm a contractor
Yeah.
with Mr. Russell. There is a mechanical space on the second floor, accessed by a pull-down stairway.
Okay, but the rest of it's all just trusses.
It's trusses, the
Trusses and
mechanical
the-
space will run all the way through.
One of the things, the folks on Main Street, because of the way the intersection works at 28 and 105, or it doesn't work, a lot of trucks coming off of 495, mostly FG Adams's trucks, the cement trucks, and a bunch of ocean spray trucks get off of 495 and come toward Lakeville on Main Street. They can't always get onto Bridge Street because it's a fairly tight corner, so they have to wait there on Main Street, and the traffic goes around them in that other lane. That other lane isn't really that available. The other lane gets used all the time for cars going around the waiting trucks
So
to make the
dangerous.
turn on Bridge Street. And there's nothing you can do about it. I mean,
Yeah.
the road's a road, we're not gonna move the road. or
I think-
Is
anything
that
like
predominantly
but
during
you
the
have to-
daytime though?
Pardon?
Is that predominantly during the daytime?
Yes, yeah, it's predominantly during trucking times.
Right.
It's a lot more on Fridays, less on weekends, stuff like that.
Right.
But you know, at the end of every day, all of Adams's trucks have to go home. And they all go through here. And they're all too long to make the turn.
that intersection is dangerous and has gotten increasingly more dangerous over
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
I'd be very curious to find out what DOT thinks now about this intersection. 'Cause sometimes they have their own thoughts. I thought maybe we should email the guy over it that does some of the other stuff, and maybe they would have some information for us. If they're planning on putting a traffic signal there or something, that would be interesting to know.
Well, yeah, wouldn't Derek wanna know that? Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I know the state legislature put $1 million away this past year for infrastructure improvements to the Lakeville Hospital property. So I know the selectmen are negotiating with them now, and I can't say it's gonna be a traffic signal, but that's one of the things they're talking about. And they wanna promote this property somehow. Whether they'll get something decided before the money's gone, I don't know. But, yeah, if you do, you might wanna ask the selectmen where they
Okay.
are with that.
Selectmen?
And one
The
last,
selectmen have been meeting with Senator Roderick and DOT or whoever, but
Maybe they'll buy curtains for their office.
be nice.
No.
No, one last one for me. And I'm sure you have it in your drawings, but just to save me the reading, how do you deal with the surface over the leaching field for parking?
How do you deal with it?
Yeah, is it that weird asphalt that water goes through?
No.
No. No, you
Over the
don't,
leaching field?
Yeah.
No.
no. The leaching field, you wanna have it be structurally sound.
Yeah.
So you have adequate cover over the leaching field so that you don't impact so you don't want penetration through that area, cause you want the only thing that's going into the leaching field to be
The leaching.
the domestic waste, the septic waste.
Were you thinking weight?
No.
Talking about stormwater?
No, he's thinking the storm water going in is like a pervious pavement. And no, pervious pavement you don't put into a leaching field. No.
No, I don't like paving over leaching fields.
What?
Paving over leaching fields.
Yeah, it's perfectly
done.
fine.
Did I miss I know that we have, you don't have public sewer, but do you have public water? You don't, because.
Yes.
You do have public
Yes.
water?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanna confirm that.
He has a sprinkler system.
I'll look more closely, the architectural designs are listed in here. I haven't gone through this all yet, like as far as what you're
Wasn't needed.
thinking for exterior.
Yeah, the elevations that I showed you earlier here, they said, yeah, those were part of the overall.
Okay. Because I'm really interested in maintaining the rural character of the town, and we are talking about architectural standards,
You wanna
so,
flip those back?
Yeah, because that's what we were showing was that,
you know, siding and so forth.
This is the public center.
Jim,
Here
you
you
might be able to talk to actual materials.
Yes,
So this is the look, okay? And Jim could talk to the materials that we're talking about being.
yeah,
Yeah, so the exterior of the building is basically maintenance-free with AZAC trim, which is a vinyl composite material, I think everybody's aware of that. For the siding, we're using cedar impressions, which is a vinyl product, but simulates cedar shingles. It's very appropriate for the area. Architectural type shingles on the roof. And that's pretty much
okay.
where we're at.
And the siding, the cedar impressions, those are gray, those are right, that's the traditional,
They have
like a
different colors,
washed.
but, yeah, it's gonna look like a Cape Cod gray,
Okay.
white trim.
And do you
black
have,
shutters.
as far as the trim around the edges, do you have like a boxed rake, or do you have just a flat?
Yeah, flying overhangs on all the rakes,
Okay. And trim around the windows?
yes,
Okay,
with sills.
okay. Thank you. I have the same question as you do. This is a big adjustment, right? To think about this being at this, I always think about this parcel of land as being the entranceway to our community. I've said it before. So it's hard to imagine this without having some understanding of what's going around it. Feels like every couple weeks we're talking about something new over here. is there a bigger plan going on?
No, at this point, there's nothing definite. We've had a lot of the properties listed for sale, as you know, on 79, we have the house lots there.
Nice.
And we're trying to do more residential behind those house lots at some point. I don't have anyone, some people talk about it, but I've got nothing permanent. But just
What
like
about
this
on this
applicant, I'm like, you have to go to the planning board, and
Yeah.
tell them what you're gonna do, and that's,
What about on this side of your parcel? Because you're kind of coming to a V, and this, I have to refresh, I don't know exactly how it looks on, I didn't bring my other notebook today, so set aside from that, but it's sort of the parcel that, here it is, right here. So his parcel goes all the way down to this, no, not right here. You come to just the other side of this site, right, the one that your property goes on the other side of this parcel.
yeah, so the north side of this property, there are 3 acre lots that abut CVS.
Yes.
So there's 2 separate ones there.
Does this one abut CVS?
No, there's the 2 lots in between them. So this-
Okay.
So this is lot 3, it's lot 1 is next to CVS, then lot
Okay.
2, then lot 3.
And they're
Okay.
both 3 acre.
Yes, those are both 3 acres.
And those are also for sale?
Yes.
Right now? But you haven't had anybody interested in those other 2 parcels?
Well, we've had people interested
I mean, it's
in
not
it,
our-
but we just haven't, I'm also
You're
looking
not-
for a fit too, I mean,
Right.
I've talked to a couple different people.
Okay.
And it's just not something that I wanna see there, so.
Okay, because this will change, this does change a lot of that, okay.
As a reference, I was curious, as a reference, that fire hydrant is there right now and is covered, is that correct? Like, an out of service,
So what happens is,
cause that's like right on the corner of the entrance?
there's Middleborough and Taunton there. So the Middleborough line, Middleborough chose not to provide water to this site, but years ago Taunton decided to provide water. So they'll be using Taunton water, and Taunton water goes all the way down 79 in front of this whole site, right to the old main entrance. So I don't think anyone will be using Middleborough water unless they can.
But I was just mentioning, I just drove this just an hour ago, and that hydrant's there, correct?
Covered up.
Covered,
Yes.
okay, just so I know, like,
Is that a Millwall?
mentally, like, where your entrance would be.
But I think that fire hydrant you're talking about is, I just saw them covered up yesterday or
Yep.
whatever. That's not my lot, that's closer to CVS. My
is that
fire
right?
hydrant is not, my fire hydrant is not covered.
Oh, okay,
That's a
alright,
middle
Yeah,
road,
it's
Fire
closer to CVS, that one.
okay, I mean,
because, Taunton is good, and Millborough doesn't wanna,
Taunton fire hydrants have a white cap, Middleborough's have a red cap.
yeah, I'm not really concerned about the owner of the fire hydrant. I
No,
was
but
trying to
that's why-
reference where the entrance to be, cause right now, it's just, it just goes and goes. You
Yeah,
can't really
we're
tell the
further up around
cut,
the
where the
bend.
cut will be.
Yeah,
Okay,
we were further up.
I think this is very good. I think it's a very good, proposal. And, I think it's a very good, complementary use for this property.
Thank you.
Yes,
Seriously, I appreciate hearing that. And I'm sorry, my eyes are bad. Is it, Barbara, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
When you were talking about the other gateway to the town, do you like the idea also, or were you thinking a funeral home isn't a good
No.
idea?
Honestly,
then?
no, I don't, but I don't deal well with change, okay? And I've lived here for a long time, and I got involved with this community from master planning 20 years ago, because that particular site, I think, has potential to be a tremendous development. And I am concerned. I am mindful that business owners have a right to use their land, and I'm also mindful of the fact that the services are needed, and I appreciate the fact that you guys are giving a great presentation. So it might take some adjusting on my part, but, it's not, I represent the people, I don't vote on my own.
Because we're kind of on this subject, and that's why I asked Dave to come tonight as well, but I would like to sit down in the future and talk about roads, how do we access other parcels back there, how should we divide them up, what do you guys want to see? So I'd like to set a meeting, maybe down the road, how we can do that, because I need the input of the planning board to tell me what you guys are looking for.
Let's definitely do that,
So
let's have that
maybe a month or
conversation.
two, if you can put me on the agenda.
Yeah,
I'll be glad to
I would
do it.
recommend it, I don't wanna speak for the board, but to come with maybe 1 or 2 conceptual drawings proposed what you're thinking of, so then we can critique or comment on that.
It's so difficult because
Yeah.
I don't, so until I divide the lots, so let's say we do 4 or 5 interior lots, using existing roads and this and that. Until I know what you guys want, I don't have a customer that.
And that's the problem.
And
That's exactly
Until
the
you have a
problem.
customer, you don't know what you can
Right.
provide us.
But
Right
I,
now, I see hundreds of thousands of trucks and gravel there.
oh,
Come on.
but like
yeah.
this gentleman here, it's, you know how I am with the planning board, I wanna bring things to you guys first.
Yes.
But if we had a conceptual, and say we had say 3 or 4 interior lots, and this is what, you wanna bring the roads up to town standards, you wanna do this, you wanna do whatever, at least then I could at least start proposing something to somebody. And know that
Derek,
you
I
guys
think
want-
that's the smartest
Okay.
thing you could do, and I'll tell you why. Because if you start getting some buy-in now on what your long-term plans are, the community will start to come around. But when it's piecemealed, it's harder,
Yeah.
okay? And it's harder specifically because of its location. If it was any place else, but people literally feel like they're driving home. They come in 2 places, they come in Ocean Spray, and they come in this location. So it's like, you know, it's been interesting seeing that development come up because that's where we wanted the development to be. We desperately need development in town and we want it to be in a place that's close to highways and not coming through the rest of the community. We need the development.
And the biggest thing on my end is the environmental. Like this particular lot, we've done a lot of test holes, monitoring holes, this and that, because I wanna make sure anything gets sold, it's gonna be no problems with it. So some of there are still some old buildings back there, you know, and it's not cheap to get these guys
I
to come and
know.
look at. But if I at least had a concept,
Yep.
and nothing that you guys could assign, but say, yeah, this looks okay, then I
Yeah.
can start environmentally attacking that lot.
Totally. And the bigger problem too is it's so expensive for a developer to wait. It's so expensive and an uncertainty is just, it can be disaster and it makes them nervous. Best thing you can do for an investor is be predictable. So if we had a bigger discussion and then it was sort of like we had, you know, you had a strategy for where that was going, then it'd be so much easier for your customers. You'd sell the property so much faster.
Because the bylaw is vague.
Yeah, I
As you
mean,
know, it's
it is.
very vague.
You know,
Yeah, well, and I think talking to Mr. Madigan too, he'd be able to guide you as far as cost from every aspect is an issue. And he could say the topography here, this would make it more conducive to a roadway in this area. Or move it over here, and so, and again, I'm not looking for the most detailed set of plan that you had to spend $1 million on, but just a little bit better than a cocktail napkin that would help everybody understand and would be reasonable to the existing conditions to make it easier on you, you know, to not make your buyers have to spend millions in gravel, so to speak.
or time, wasting time, right?
Right.
And
You
I'd
know?
like to have the board to walk on the site too as well, to take a look at the site.
That'd be great. Thank you.
I think it's
Too
a
spooky.
very
Not
good
going.
presentation. Thank you.
No, thank you for coming.
Okay.
Very good.
Do we have to make a motion to,
Do we have it, is the application made out and all that? Did he give you an application along with it and all that stuff is good? Okay.
Not to interrupt, but I would like to hear the fire chief's thoughts on why he specified what he specified. I'd like him to go and maybe know that this funeral home plans on using a police officer for every wake. That may change his, he might say, geez, I never thought of that. That one of my police officers is gonna keep that lane clean. I don't need to worry, you know, because, I don't wanna circumvent him. He must have had a train of thought here and, he's not here tonight, so.
so can we request the, fire chief come to our next meeting?
Cause 2 of his concerns were immediately, cleared up and I wouldn't want to press forward without him saying, yeah, you're right, I'm good. If you say there'll be a police officer at every wake and certainly at every funeral.
To address this. Thanks, Kathy. Yes.
Yeah, just on that thought, because we think there may be an intersection there, I don't think a second entrance they'd want it any closer to that entrance. that set of lights, they probably wouldn't even allow it. Yeah.
No,
So I don't even know if there's an option to add a
That's
second
what we should
entrance.
ask
You,
them,
you
right.
could widen that entrance, would be the only thing you could do about it.
That's
If
a
you
good
wanted to get
idea.
more cars in and out,
That's a
make
good
it a
idea.
3-lane entrance instead of a 2-lane entrance. But
That sounds like it adds confusion.
I don't think they would give it.
Which way's the middle lane go?
Well, no, I
That's for
mean,
the people walking.
the guy who operates it will tell you how it works. I mean.
What?
We're allowed to add
He's-
Yeah, I know what you're saying, just to ease flow, you just get it.
But the only way you can make the
Yep.
cars
So
flow
we can
better
add
is
conditions.
What kind of conditions?
if you can't give them
Well,
another
I'd like to have in
one.
writing that
make
the
'em
police
wider.
detail will be paid for by them. Wasn't an agreement with other towns. I have a couple of other things, I just wanna know if it can be done, and I can propose them.
We can talk about that.
Okay?
So if it's okay with you, we'd like to have the fire chief here at our next meeting to ask him questions about that. But other than that, I think we're pretty good
Yeah.
with this.
I'm impressed.
Yeah,
Is there resident
I'm a very, I live pretty close by and I like it.
and he's
Yeah.
not easily impressed.
That's a fact.
Could I, to Mr. Sylvia, to Mr. Zinkworth's comments about widening the opening, I thought I heard at another meeting somewhere that Mass DOT was pretty strict on their roadway opening widths. So is that something that really is more up to DOT anyway?
It would be hard, we just went through, you see what we just went through with like Mass Street on Route 44 here. They are very, very strict.
I heard
about
it's like 24, 26 feet and that's it.
24 throats and so forth. See, when you do it to their standards, you gotta have 24-foot width at the throat here.
Yep.
Okay, it's,
And it's not a,
it's unlikely that they would allow for us to go, to a wider, opening at that point.
yeah, the reference I'm going back to in my memory is you'd have to prove tractor trailer traffic to even go 2 feet wider, or something
Yeah.
like that was
Yeah.
what I was
Yeah,
told.
the only time we ever get them when they're wider in there is just that, that there is either, well, the radius sometimes, the radius coming in or going out may be larger because of the circumstances of that road. But that throat, there are some that we've done that had islands in the middle, okay, but they're very concerned about how that configuration is and having that, they want it divided if you're doing that. And that
So
doesn't really solve the,
To speak to that, it's pretty much a standard,
yeah.
and we really couldn't request wider, it would be just, sort of falling on deaf ears with DOT. With a site
I
like
won't say
this.
deaf ears, but they're not hearing very well.
Okay.
This is just the burial process, right? Any other processing, like cremation, is done off at a different site, correct?
Yes, it is. In Massachusetts, funeral homes, we cannot own a crematory or do any cremation on our
Okay.
process, so it has to be a private crematory.
Thank you, it was just
Yeah,
a
you're welcome.
question I had earlier. Do we need to do peer review for this in any way?
No.
Okay.
I would-
You wouldn't?
I would personally, I would.
Sounds like only comments to the fire chief then.
Yep.
And do you think he needs to, be here in person? I'm just saying, just to value his time, I think just a return comment, would be, and an explanation, do you know what I mean? Or unless that would, I don't wanna delay this with any more back and forth. If he came, that might be like,
If I was able to meet with him and we would have resolved his concerns,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was able to forward correspondence to you as to how
that's fine
that
by
would be
me
addressed,
personally. Yeah,
then, you might not have to actually meet with him at that point.
yeah,
That would be wonderful.
What do you
But
think?
that's what I'll do, I'll reach out to him to sort of meet with him and try to go over and come to a resolution that is satisfactory to him.
Mr. Chair, do you think it would make sense for Mr. Sylvia to draft a letter to send to the board to be forwarded so that it doesn't appear he's circumventing the board and it came from you or Kathy back to the fire chief? And I'm not saying you shouldn't meet with him, but
No, but I'm
just
saying is that maybe it's a letter from the board requesting that the fire chief meet with us to
Well, that could be
address that
also.
issue.
Kathy, can you send that letter? Asking for the fire chief to clarify what his intentions were for, the access to the property and,
Well, and also maybe mention police details, because he was very upfront about that, that if police details would help mitigate his concerns.
I mean, if I.
I think he's
if we
looking
can
for
meet,
just-
Maybe if it's
I
with
think
one
the
member
fire-
from the board, maybe.
I think the fire chief is just looking for access to and out. So, I know a lot of, I've dealt with a lot of fire chiefs and what they want on a facility like this. They want in, they want out. They want ambulance in, they want ambulance out. And, I think he's got what he needs if he has the height clearance coming in from that entrance and going around back and going out that entrance. I think he should be good to go, quite honestly.
See what he has to say, right? He'll probably,
Yeah.
you know?
And, if he wants in over there and out over here, you know, it might be something that he wants, but I don't know if that is that critical.
If I may just ask a question, I never really heard exactly what his concern was,
Me
except, okay. But for the building wise, yes, I understand the carport and we'll make sure the ambulance and fire truck fits through it, but there's also two other side entrances to the
Yes.
funeral home. But, I'll just say it, you have Baldi's down the street, you have the bank down the street, you have all these other Dollar Tree, they all have one entrance going in and out. I didn't know quite what the situation was, or why.
We have a new fire chief?
And then he'll say, so he didn't in a letter or anything like that say, this is why.
Well, he
Right.
said, what he said was because a single road could be impaired by vehicle congestion, potential of large crowds, we are requiring a second access entrance to this site.
Okay.
I built an assisted living facility over in Easton, and the fire chief, the fire marshal, the person that I was dealing with said, do you have your clearance? Do you have your clearance? Do you have your clearance? And I said, well, I'm pretty sure. I
did
mean,
bring
the
that up. He
architect
said that.
dealt with you folks since the beginning. He didn't have clearance. So the ambulance ended up hitting the stone arch that went across the front of the, so they had to build a new a new driveway across in front of the archway that they had built that was their pride and joy. And it was a good cluster.
While we're sort of revisiting the chief's concerns, we had said that the highest ambulance currently is 9'7".
Yeah.
What would you go to above that to allow clearance?
I can speak to that issue. I spoke with the architect today. We have no problem raising that. We can raise that as high as we want. We don't want to raise it to 10 feet. We want to raise it to something that looks more like we decided to raise it, rather than it just looks like a mistake. Right now, the way it's drawn, all the fascias all line up. So we're going to do something that looks good elevation-wise, but gets it up to a point that larger vehicles can through it.
So, right now it's drawn at what?
Right now, there's a 10-foot wall height on the building, so everything's kind of lining up with that 10-foot wall height.
Yeah.
So our intention is to get that raised up, and we just want to make it look aesthetically pleasing, whatever height we end up with, above what we need to get the fire department's vehicles through there.
Yeah, well, I'm just
So
kind
the
of
bottom of the
thinking,
board will be at 10 feet.
Right, to the bottom of, we're gonna have some structural beams through there that'll be wrapped.
yeah, I'm just kind of thinking, today we have an ambulance that's 9'7".
Right.
And if
So-
the 2022s come out and they're
He'll go-
9'8",
It'll go
we
to
get
the side
stuck.
door.
We're looking at, like, again, something that looks like we decided to raise it, so I don't think we wanna go to, bridge stands of 13.6 or whatever.
Right.
Maybe.
No.
We're gonna go somewhere between, 10 and 12, whatever looks good aesthetically on the building.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
and I don't think
important
we
to
should be
us.
going up to 13 feet. I was just saying,
No.
maybe go more than an inch above,
Oh, we're not-
you know,
no, no.
go 6 or 8 inches, a foot above that, at least so.
You know, it could be, yeah, no, it's gonna be something, a distance.
With a
above
sign that says lower tire pressure, yeah.
One of the two.
Done that. We've done that.
Okay, so I think we're good?
Yeah.
Okay, so, hopefully we'll hear back from the fire chief, within the next 2 weeks.
So will your letter be suggesting that he meet with us or not? Okay,
Yes,
Email.
all
yeah,
right, that's fine. And I'll make myself available to go meet with me. Yeah, absolutely.
So do we need a motion to continue or?
Yeah.
yeah, do you mind if we make a motion to continue this for 2 weeks?
Shoot, whatever you suggest.
What date would that be?
May 9?
Is that a motion?
Motion to continue the Lot 3 Main Street hearing until our May 9th meeting at 7:30 PM.
We have 3 hearings
This
Already
one should be,
scheduled for 7:30.
oh, all at 7:30?
I don't know. Yeah.
So,
Well,
all right, so new time.
yeah, new time, but same night.
Same
You
day,
can
same
do
night,
it at
though,
the same
but later.
time. You can start, we do it at the zoning board, all the hearings at the same time. You can decide which one you wanna do first.
I'll second that.
It's
All in
easier
favor?
that way.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very
I was
much.
just gonna suggest possibly taking a vote tonight contingent upon a positive review from the fire chief. That would save a whole nother meeting. Helps our timeline, believe it or not, a couple of weeks is important. And then if it comes back a negative determination, we can come back and hash it out.
I would accept that motion, because he can always provide another access.
It's not gonna change the building.
Group.
It's not gonna.
No,
change-
just
Well-
change site.
I have, if this is a special permit, then would this be the time for me to bring up my questions to be added?
It's
Do you
not
want
a
to
special-
continue it? It's not a special permit?
This is not a
Okay.
special permit, no.
Doesn't
I thought-
it, isn't it going to
I
get a
thought-
special permit through the ZBA, a funeral home? I thought it did.
I thought it did too, so that's why I was
It's-
asking.
No, it's a
Okay.
permitted use.
Oh, in the permitted use. Elsewhere, all right.
I mean, if you were, I guess along with what Jim was saying, is, I mean, if you were to vote to approve it, subject to resolving the concerns of the fire chief, then we know that that has to be addressed, that he has to be satisfied. I mean, that's just a way of being able to do that.
I'll buy that.
Yeah, that's fine by me too.
So I'd like to withdraw my motion to continue. Can I get a second?
Second.
Well, I think we can still continue it, but we can also approve. No?
Is it one or the other?
I think once we approve it, it's approved.
Yeah, and it's our only concern is the entrance, so I think it is fair and sound to say, subject to.
Okay, so you wanna withdraw your motion?
I would like to withdraw my motion
And
to
then
continue.
we'll take a second on the withdrawal.
I did, yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then
New motion subject to working out.
the fire chief,
The fire chief's concerns.
okay?
We approve, that we approve the site plan review.
Okay,
Second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
So,
you very much. Yeah, I will meet with him and we will resolve those issues and then send you back.
It's really only the one
If
issue.
Yeah, and if it results in changes in the plan, then we'll give you revised plans which reflect his comments. And that's what the revision will say, is addressed fire chief comments.
I think that's,
Any opposed?
pardon me?
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
You are?
Sorry.
Okay. I
That's all right.
forgot to ask. You know,
I know we never disagree.
we never disagree. Okay, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, here we go. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks, good luck.
Thank you.
You're gonna be able to walk to this place.
What's that?
You're gonna be able to walk to this place.
Not if you're going to be serviced.
You gonna go there a lot?
We're gonna get this out.
I go to a lot of wakes now.
know.
You'll see.
Get your ticket punched,
You'll see.
you know?
Everybody gets their turn.
Not if you're the master,
Oh,
not if you're the guy.
Yeah. Right.
Guest of honor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always pays to have a nice set of plans.
So, second on the agenda is to meet with Mr. Derek Maxey regarding the, approval not required submittal for 89 Crooked Lane and 1 Cedar Berry Lane. Sir. You doing, boy?
Is it all right if I let the surveyor get to?
Sir.
Okay, good.
Good evening. For the record, my name's Dave Madigan from Madigan Land Surveying. I didn't bring my little display board, but everybody has a plan in front of them. So what I'd like to do is just kind of walk you through it.
Okay,
So this is a Form A plan, approval not required.
yep,
There's a lot of information on this plan, so
Yeah.
we'll go slow. Yeah, I know. So, what we're doing here is we're showing 4 Form A lots.
okay,
As you know, with an A&R plan, we have to have the legal street frontage, which is 175 feet in this zone. All the lots are on a public way, either Crooked Lane or Lot 4, which is to the east, is on Stetson Street. And all the lots have access, vital access onto the lot. We've also, and I'll walk through each lot individually, but you can also see the front yard circles are shown. We start over there at Lot 1, that has an existing house on it, Mrs. Simpson. Then we kind of go over to Lot 2, and we have a very odd-shaped hexagonal type of thing where we able to fit the circle in, have the legal street frontage. Lot 3 has plenty of frontage, you see the circle, and then way over on Lot 4, same thing. In Lot 4, in the lower left-hand corner is actually blown up, so you can see the circle there, and mathematically and everything, and in AutoCAD, it looks like it almost kind of hits there, but believe me, it doesn't. And then the frontage over on that lot, Lot 4, is along the street, and then is the actual layout, which is a county layout of Stetson Street, is that little bump out as it's shown. And that's over the 175 required feet. So, to try to maybe just keep it simple, Lot 1. So Lot 1 is currently Assessors Map 59, Block 1, Lot 2A. It's Mrs. Simpson's. She's a undersized, non-conforming lot just with area only. She has plenty of frontage. So what Mr. Maxey and Mrs. Simpson are doing is out front, you see a parcel A, a little triangular piece right there by Crooked Lane, right above. So that is parcel A, 1,756 square feet, that we're cutting off of Mrs. Simpson's lot, 45 feet of frontage that will go with Lot 2, so that Lot 2 will conform with the frontage. In return, so that we don't impact her, make her more non-conforming, we're actually gonna make her less non-conforming. Mr. Maxey is going to convey to her up in the back parcel B, which you see behind her. She'll be able to go right through there. Parcel B is 7,159 square feet, so she's netting out about 5,400 square feet. So she's actually making her lot bigger than what it is now. In Lot 2, which is being created for Mr. Maxey, meets all the requirements, as I said, out front. You see, it has the frontage, the circle, and then it has a very narrow way, which, as you know, anything less than 50 feet, you can't count toward the area. So we've put that into the calculation up there. Up at the top of the page, you see Lot 2. It lists the total frontage, total area, and then the upland. Here you have to have 75% of your 70,000 square foot lot. So it meets those requirements. Lot 3, a little more simpler. It's a big lot. Has 177.53 feet of frontage. Is a 14-acre parcel, so it's well over the minimum. And then the contiguous upland is 366,000 square feet, about 8 acres. Then if we move down to the last lot, Lot 4, and basically what we're doing is, Mr. Maxey owns 2 assessor parcels there, and we're just really reconfiguring the lot lines. We're not changing perimeter lines or anything. We're just reconfiguring the 2 lots so that he basically can get an extra lot out of it, and then he's doing the conveyance with Mrs. Simpson, helping her out to get a little more land, and then of course helping himself out to get a little more frontage. So Lot 4, which
Can
one?
you say that one again, please?
Yes. So Mr. Maxey currently has the 2 assessor lots, and we're gonna just reconfigure the interior lines.
Are we on Lot 4 now?
Wow, we're kinda in the whole, all lots.
Okay, you just steer me to
Yeah,
which lot we're
okay,
on.
just Lot 4, we got the big blow up out front.
Yeah,
Says right there under Lot 4, total frontage actually is 200 feet. Total area is 84,000 square feet, and then the contiguous upland is 57, so it's over the minimum required. So we've created 4 lots there, Lot 1, 2, 3, and 4, by reconfiguring the interior lot lines. Little extra to really keep it going is Derek figured while we're at it doing this plan, he would just cut out some parcels, non-buildable parcels, just to kind of square up lines. They're gonna stay as single parcels. He's not sure if he's gonna convey them or add them to anything. They're just non-buildable parcels. And we've already done A and B, which is the conveyance between Mr. Maxey and Mrs. Simpson. So our next little parcel is parcel C, which I'm gonna try to direct you to that. It's over to the east of Lot 4. There's a parcel C there, which was part of Mr. Maxey's lot. He's just basically cutting that out, non-buildable, doesn't have frontage. It's for his own use in regards to his irrigation and his watering and stuff like that. That way, if he ever does maybe decide to sell Lot 4, he can still have control over his bogs and things like that. And right above Lot 4, you see a little rectangular 35-foot wide parcel D. That same thing, I believe he's taking that off maybe the golf course just to kind of give a little more buffer for Lot 4. And then the last parcel, which is right behind Lot 3 there, right by my north arrow, is parcel E. He's just kind of straightening a line out in the golf course property so that it doesn't jig and jog as much, and he's running a straight line which is 500 feet long. Parcel E will just be considered a non-buildable lot, and that's for Mr. Maxey to protect and buffer the lots and stuff from the golf course. So I know it's a lot there, but Derek likes a good value to get everything on as much as he can get on one plan. So I think that's what he was trying to do. We were just trying to maximize the plan and do this once.
Get paid by the sheet.
What's that?
He's getting paid by the sheet
Yeah.
instead of getting paid by the hour.
Right.
Yeah, I could have made 6 plans out of this and really,
You could have made 2.
you know,
Couldn't you?
but no, it's all there, I mean, you know, main concern, I was a former planning board member in Middleborough for 12 years, so I know exactly
God bless you.
what this is all about and how things can be tough and decisions, but once again, it is an A&R plan. It has a legal street frontage on all 4 lots. It is on public ways. It has access onto the lot. Plus, we meet all the town front yard circles. We also meet, which I didn't say, Lakeville at the setback, at the front yard setback, you are to have the same width as you have at the frontage. And those lines are all drawn in there. You can see them, it says total frontage at setback and right across all 4 lots. So all of those are met, and then the upland, the minimum upland is met on all 4 of the lots. Any questions, concerns?
And a lot of these are for delineation purposes, for the most part.
Recreating lots, it's basically to maximize those 2 assessor lots, which are
Right.
2 buildable lots now, and to maximize lots, so.
Right.
And with the help of Mrs. Simpson, we were able to get 4 lots, you know,
Right.
because of the frontage, yeah,
Right. The problem is,
Yep.
when you do something like that,
yep.
for every lot and parcel, it's considered another fee for the planning board.
I just submitted it, that's what I was told.
Okay,
I thought only lots were adding no parcels.
yeah. This is basically for conveyance purposes. So if you're creating a parcel D, which wasn't there before, that's one. A parcel E, that's another. A lot 4, that's another.
Right
A lot 2,
there.
what?
It says creating parcels A, B, C, right?
Yeah. Those are all non-buildable. Just to that point, from my past experience, and I know Lakeville's different, but we always based everything on a lot. And a
Right.
lot is a buildable lot. Parcels, just a parcel, so like in this instance, if I happen to be that person in Middleborough, it would be 4 lots, it would be four fees.
Right.
We wouldn't charge for every single little parcel or anything.
Well, you can't charge for lot number 1.
Well, lot 1 is already
That was
existing,
existing.
and that's another.
Lot 2 was existing, it just was reconfigured.
Well, lot 2 has a house on it in the back that's
Right.
being restructured into a new lot.
I mean, by the letter of the assessors, there's 3 lots there. There's
Yep.
Mrs. Simpson's, and then Derek has 2. Now there's gonna be 4. So there's 3 already there, and we're going to 4.
But what I thought lot 4 was the only addition, but
And I think
So it's only one.
And I paid for.
Well, I'll go along with that.
okay.
I think 4 is fine, and then waive anything that would come up for a parcel, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Perfect. Are you any relation to Madigan that was our town council for a long time?
Thomas?
Yeah.
Yes,
Really?
yes. Cousin.
Huh?
He's a cousin,
He is.
yes.
I'm very fond of him.
Oh, good, yep. He's still around.
Just for the record, our signature block, Mr. Madigan has carefully, the planning board endorsement makes no certification as to compliance with zoning.
No.
Which is a very important thing for us because, I mean, for instance, the lot 4, the very front of lot 4, I think it can be looked at a couple of ways. I thought in Lakeville we did it as a rectangle, and that the right end would have been squared off for measuring frontage. But I don't have to do that. Nate Darling will do that, and however he calls that when he calls that.
You're absolutely right.
And we see, those things it's things that you see differently in one town to another. And it's not, it was a change that was in you know, it had been drafted, but I don't think it went through. It's one of those close ones. But
Just-
at any rate, we make no certification that that one's buildable.
Right, and
But
that's
it's noticed.
That's a big key thing, and I'm actually going through that in Middleborough. And as a former planning board member, I feel I can speak to it a little bit. You know, an A&R plan is supposed to have those three things. And from the planning board standpoint, those are the only three things you should be concerned with. If there's a zoning deficiency on the plan, even though you might not like it, by state statute, you are to sign the plan. But to make the boards feel more comfortable, and it's in the A&R handbook, it specifically says this statement, and they have like two other ones that basically say the same thing. And it's to make the board feel more comfortable that they're not doing something wrong.
Right.
They know it's an A&R, meets the three things. If it shows a zoning deficiency, then it's up to the zoning inspector to pick up on it. The other thing, just to let you know too, is the planning board doesn't have to sign an A&R.
Right.
If they felt really uncomfortable, you don't have to sign it, but it would get approved by default after the 21 day.
It's
Not necessarily.
it's for conveyance purposes.
Okay.
It's for
Not necessarily.
conveyance, it's for conveyance purposes.
Yeah.
Is what it's for. So I will
Yes.
entertain a motion to sign the plan
I move we sign the plan,
for,
second it.
for
for,
one,
whether we certify this A&R.
and for one lot. Isn't that what you said?
The application says whatever.
Is it 4 lots?
4 lots.
If he says 4 lots, it's 4 lots.
Yeah, 4B.
4 lots.
Okay. So it's not.
Lots 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then parcels A, B, C, D, and E.
Okay, for 4 lots. Okay.
Yep.
Second,
I
anyone?
second that.
All in favor?
Gonna use these ones.
Aye.
Aye, sorry.
It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
No one's abstaining in this one.
So you glad I had
It's
it?
one
What?
time when we disagree.
Yeah, right.
You can't look at this on an iPad, it's brutal.
We're gonna sign these ones?
It is.
There's a lot going on.
I don't know.
It's a very busy plan.
Kathy, should we sign these?
Yeah, we'll do it at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just get it.
Okay.
You guys all have your A&R handbooks from the state?
I just didn't bring it
For
tonight.
like new board members, I mean, it's a
Actually,
lot to
she
learn.
made, you made us a good package, or someone gave me a really good package, maybe it was Lorraine. But if you want a copy, I can just
should
give.
get one.
Yeah, when you need it, I usually have it with me.
It's the one
Thank
that's.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That one first, before anything else.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You got a copy machine.
I don't know if I have that A&R one.
Sign mine.
All right. Did you use the color pen?
What?
Can I use your pen? You have a black pen.
Are we doing them now or at the end?
Well, we got something else coming up?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Hearing number 3.
Do we?
Plus then
Well,
you have open business.
I don't know. It's fluff mostly, but. Oh, no, not new business. That's highlighted.
Which one am I signing on? 3? I'll sign on
Here's a
mine 3.
single-sided one.
Whatever you want.
Guess we're doing it.
425.
Mix it up.
What's the date?
25th.
You could probably like
Okay.
the PDF, like the email to me of the A&R handbook. Yeah, and then my office will just print it out and they'll put it in a binder for me. But thank you.
The other one that's nice, well, you probably have the other stuff, the other bylaws and all that.
Yeah,
That's all really good. Are you eating more candy? Oh, I thought that was the second bag.
No.
It's just, you're really stressed tonight. 'cause
It's all,
you're
it's all over.
Remember when we used to, was it Paula, the girl that used to, no, it wasn't Paula, she used to bring candy. Remember she used to set candy around? And when you would get stressed, you'd start eating candy.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah. I knew you were aggravated.
Maybe.
Yeah, pass that one down.
You gotta do that.
Oh, okay.
You missed it.
Here's my pen.
It'll come back.
Yeah,
Here you go.
Barbara has my pen.
Oh,
There you go.
this,
Oh, and this one too.
this is actually the real copy. And then they go into the discussion.
Peter's good. Peter's good. All three of us. And going down.
This is actually the case. See what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So here, when it comes up, that angle makes it, you know, of a legal
Yeah.
lot in Massachusetts is 50 feet, but it's not 50 feet at an angle, it's 50 feet.
You've said that before.
At a, you know,
Yep.
so.
I don't know.
So what's this Pilgrim Road blueprint we gotta look at?
This is a ZBA, and we typically don't comment. I guess that's how I was raised.
And the date is 4/20.
Where's the architect?
12, add 2018 edition.
Okay.
The artist conception.
Is it?
Where is this Pilgrim Road? I don't see a locus anywhere in the architecturals.
That's
Yeah.
always a problem.
Yeah.
People don't really have a,
This is only brief.
And one more right there.
But based
Oh,
on the
okay.
lot size, it must be someplace
It's-
really
it's
close
missing
to
somebody.
the lake.
Yep.
Let's look at how small these lot
Yeah,
sizes are.
Cottage and Foxwoods.
Yeah.
Okay.
That will be
That's
fine,
what they're
I
Well, make
believe.
a motion,
Oh, no,
no
there's one still
comment.
in front of Brian too.
Is it
What?
too soon? Make a motion, no comment on 29
no,
Pilgrim Road.
go for it.
That's what I'm saying.
I second Barbara's motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's see, we have Mark. Peter, I think that's you. Missing. Okay, so,
Budget.
revisit FY 2020 budget.
Yep, we talked about it last week. No minutes. No minutes this time.
You were all there, right?
Yep. I didn't bring my folder tonight, so I don't remember what we said about last week. So,
About the budget?
do you have any comments or anything you wanna add to this?
I mean, I think that we should at least have some like, news of the bare minimum. Got it.
I missed those. I made a mess of those.
Oh,
I think
And
we
if
should
the
have a
question
bare
is,
minimum of some
Are
office
there two different ways of
supplies.
folding
I mean, I
drawings? No,
am
there aren't
working
two
within
different
the
ways.
inspectional services, but that's like adding,
Yes.
whole other department. Not that we use a lot of supplies, but, I mean, a box of envelopes is $90.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the 150 is not, because that's what the 150 that we added on that end was, because we were historically at 150 for years, you know? It doesn't cut it,
Well, that's all, yeah.
the amount of paper that we go through in this department is phenomenal, you know? And paper clips.
I mean, I know a lot of times they take it out of the agency fees, but I don't know if that's really how you should be doing it. You should actually
should
be
be
going
washing, yeah.
from a line item so you can
Yeah.
track it.
And that's exactly what should happen.
What do you think it should be? Because I wouldn't know. I mean, typically, if you knew a month, we could just do times 12, you know?
I mean, you could start it off at, I'd say probably 300. I'm thinking like two boxes of envelopes for a year.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
some, you know, supply like pens,
Yeah.
things like that I
Yeah.
can get, but I feel like that would be the most expensive thing that would be specific to the planning board.
like
that the planning
300,000?
board-
What about just
Yeah.
reams of paper?
That, I believe, comes from the selectmen's budget. They usually take care of the paper.
They've been doing that to us for a while. They leave us at 150, we buy paper clips, and everything else comes from them. It's been happening for like
Why don't we just move to 0?
20
And just
years.
let them give us paper clips
Yeah,
too?
Well, what I'd like to see is that there's some of these projects take you more time, more energy, more money. I mean, I know it'd be difficult, I'd probably not worth it to break them out, but. And if that's all we're spending, I guess, I just feel like we just can't see the cost of things.
we don't.
Yeah.
We
But
never
that's
have.
my fault for not getting
Well,
more, I
Kathy's
don't know.
our secretary, but that's not part of our budget.
Right.
Right, that should, well, but she's a shared
She's in-
resource.
But,
She's a shared resource.
yeah,
But-
she's
but
in
a
the
portion of
pool,
that
right?
resource should go
It should
towards
be
our budget.
allocated, exactly.
Just from a transparency standpoint, but
It's like a project
if we're not gonna, just
allocation.
make it all zeros. Just tell them, send us paper clips and envelopes.
Yeah, we'll just keep ordering stuff.
There may be incidentals, like the dues and subscriptions, is that something that you use?
At this time, no, but I think that would be a really good idea to
It's a
get
really good
some-
idea, and we
which
could
is
all
something
share
kind of
it.
on my list of things to do
Yeah.
to try to get resources, not just from you, if you guys, like
Yeah.
you need them,
Right.
No, we do.
you know?
I go to Holy Cross once a year, and every couple of years
Yeah.
we go to Fort Devens for
That
40B
training.
stuff.
I definitely need to go to one of those,
Yeah.
So that's something.
Oh, it's a really worthwhile thing.
It is.
I mean,
It
you-
is.
those costs.
They won't pay you your time,
Right,
but they would pay Kathy her time, you know,
right.
And they would pay to go there.
yeah.
They would pay for the tuition, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
the tuition
Right.
and the meals.
Yeah,
Well, that's what conservation does, is they'll have MACC things throughout the state, so if we wanna go, we just tell them we wanna go, and then
Yeah.
they pay the fee for us to attend.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're not getting compensated,
No.
so. If we wanted to do something like that to make us a better planning board member, that's certainly something that's out there, I think that should be part of the budget. For the dues and subscriptions.
So this,
but it's not a part of the budget. They'll just allocate that through the general funds.
I think.
Yeah, you're
I think
right.
right now,
'Cause even-
training has come with the selectmen's office. But like there again, you know, I don't know if that's something that you'd want to change, you can change it. I don't know at this point, like the budget is set and it's too late. And just to
we're
start
real
thinking
close.
about
Yeah,
for next year, how you want to handle this.
And we'll have a new town
Yeah.
administrator.
So,
What's that?
We'll have a new town administrator.
well, I don't think it would be ruffling for, to increase it to $300, which is what you had recommended, just to give yourself a little bit of buffer. And, do you disagree with that?
No, no.
Just 'cause you're-
No, no.
I mean, and then, you know, we should look into the dues and subscriptions and thoughts about this for next year, but maybe we should put on the calendar for the discussion about this in advance. Because I
Yeah.
think, right, so maybe if we put this on the calendar for October or something like that, that way we have a little bit of lead time before finance committee gets to the place where they're sending out the next draft, just to look back on what, maybe like like if we need more for classes or whatever, or less.
Sure, you wanna throw on $300?
Yeah, not
Right.
more, just 300 instead of 150. So I'm making a motion to increase the budget from $150 to $300.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And any costs that they wanna put, that we need to, we'll just,
Yep.
not a big deal.
Just
Do we
curious
need
to
to-
find out what they do with that.
Do we need to sign
Yeah,
this
well,
plan
it's
because
actually
we approved
slashed.
it pending?
What's that?
Do we need to sign this plan because we approved it pending?
I don't think so. Do we have to sign?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
it's subject to
I think we kinda do.
Yeah.
You do? Because he hasn't, so the fire chief hasn't
Or
said
do we
anything
come back
about
into the
that?
office once that pending is resolved?
Right.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's wait until it's resolved.
I
Okay.
think that they're fine with the motion we made.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna be too proactive, that
Right.
if there is an issue with.
Nah,
'cause it'd be a
that's a good
different plan.
point. Yeah, that's-
Yeah,
Get
what-
rid-
what they-
If they change it.
Right.
what they actually
So
need,
we'll
which we
just-
didn't always do, but now that we're getting more professional, they get a letter from us saying that the site plan review was approved on such and such date by such and such people, on such and such drawing dated.
Turn these back into you just in case we
And,
have to come in and sign them,
That's what
The
they'll
funeral
take to
home?
the bank, saying that
or throw it out.
No,
we're
don't
ready
throw
to
it
borrow
out.
money.
Yeah.
They won't take the
Might not
drawing,
get
they'll
another
take
one.
the
Do you want
letter.
them back?
that-
Yeah,
Why
I
don't
hold
you take
on
it
to
back?
them
Funeral
until
home won't need a bank.
that's
What?
Nothing.
complete.
I'll tell you.
Oh, you know these, you know the folks?
Yes.
Zink, you wanna give these back so Kathy can collect all the plans?
This one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. This looks like a good example plan. Nice job.
All right, we're moving on to new
So,
business. Sorry.
Did anybody read that?
That I just put in there just because you had mentioned that, but you didn't give me a figure, so I didn't know if you wanted to go with that same amount. There again, I don't know if it's too late to even submit that.
No.
That was from last year, Mark.
$80,000?
Yeah, I would
Oh,
remember
for a
the
full-time
Ford
planner, oh,
one.
yes, we did. That's right.
So do we wanna change our motion? I didn't get that deep into the paperwork, I saw that, and we had already just talked about 150 to 300.
We can ask, I don't think we're gonna get it, but it doesn't hurt to ask, and we've been needing it for so long, and it's been something for so long that hasn't been addressed. And I would be very interested in a shared resource with another town. I think Freetown has a town planner.
Full-time?
I think he's full-time, yeah.
The-
I'm just saying, it can't hurt to ask.
What
No,
page
it
are we
sure
on there,
can't.
Mark?
I'm completely agree with you. I'm just
What
don't
would
know how
the
to say
duties
it.
of the full-time planner be?
What's that?
What would the duties of a full-time planner be? Sort of inspectional services for what we
No.
vote on?
No, I think they would review the zoning areas of town and more or less recommend to us what their thoughts are on changing what we have.
For future development? or-
Yeah, oh yeah.
So my cousin is the town planner for Nantucket, and what she has to do is, she's like, comes to all of these meetings, she's listening and she's researching, and she knows the laws, and she knows, land use very, very well, she has a degree in it. So what happens is when there's not an understanding, you have that resource, like we have Kathy, which is great. But it just seems like it would be, because a lot of these issues that are coming at us very quickly, and we're all volunteering. And, these are some pretty good-sized developments. We're just a little town, We think it's just this plan and just that one, but over time, it's one and another and another.
When you read through the A&R book, that particular one, you have to memorize the entire thing. Completely, every line in it, if you were gonna call yourself a planner. I mean, in Massachusetts, it's just, because Massachusetts has an oddball law. It doesn't necessarily make sense, it's back from Pilgrim days, and it makes sense. And and you're also you're the person that meets the people as they come in to town.
To do business.
to do
And
business.
it would take so much off
And
of
that's-
Nate. Yeah.
Yeah, which Nate is doing somehow now. And what also happens is that other people do it that we would rather not have to.
We're a volunteer board, I mean, I think of what I've learned in a year, and I know nothing relative, you know what I mean? It's there's a lot to learn in this space. There's really a
Yes.
lot to learn.
There's a- And there's,
I make a motion to approve it, but that's me.
proof what?
That we approve submitting this letter to the selectmen.
Oh, yeah.
The request for
Second.
80,000.
Yeah.
I don't know about the number, I mean, I think that, that should be it's whatever the market is. We should do a town survey to figure out, if we were gonna move forward, I think this is just to remind them that we still want one,
Yeah.
more or less,
Yeah.
right? So the question mark is good.
I would agree with submitting the letter, so is.
I wouldn't do it for 80,000,
No.
personally.
And that wouldn't cover it either. You know,
No.
anyway, by the time you start doing a benefits package on top of it,
Right.
But it's just a reminder.
How
It's
do
a
we get to
reminder
the
that we're still
80,000?
alive
Yeah.
and that we need somebody.
What about the extra $150? It's $80,000.
This number came from someplace, I wonder if.
No, is our budget also?
I think
150
Lorraine
plus 80?
might have done some research.
No, we carried that 80,000 the past several years, that 80 for
This number.
several
No, I
years,
mean-
and forwarded to the selectmen, and then we added in our supplies.
Yeah.
So,
But I think
that's the
somebody,
150.
somebody might do that for $80,000, who is,
Young and,
yeah, like 5 years out of school.
Right.
And,
And they also have to have a lot of presentation skills. Of how, you know, how you can get this map onto a drawing in front of an audience that they can all understand it, you know, so that there's a lot of that. How to make your project look good in front of a crowd that's
Well,
voting
to
on it.
translate,
So there's a lot of that.
yeah,
So do we have a motion?
we do. We need a second.
I'll second it.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Do we have any new business, Mr. Chair?
Not that I.
Yes.
We do.
Yes.
We certainly do.
Yes.
Whoa.
Would you like to go first?
Yes, I would.
Can I go to the men's room first?
Sure.
This could take like days.
Let's hope it's
I
not
have to
days.
see the Bruins score here.
Which topic?
The one that you have in your hand there.
All right.
You know, after going to the meeting, the Board of Selectmen on Monday night, and after doing much review over the conversations about marijuana in this town, it's abundantly clear that regardless of whether we like it or not, it's coming. The morality issue's behind us. It's going forward. We have to accept it's going forward. And I believe we need to create an overlay district to accomplish that. I would like to make a recommendation to the board, or make the suggestion to the board, that we consider creating an overlay district for approval at town meeting in the fall, which means we'd have to get things together fairly quickly. But we do need to limit where this can go, because the discussion that came up about the 60,000 square foot building that could go into an industrial area right in a residential location came up because it can. And there's several pockets of industrial land sprinkled throughout the town. It's unintentional. I know there's been many efforts
No,
to
it was
clean up.
intentional.
Well, it was
What?
then. but
At the time, it was
At the time, it was
intentional.
intentional.
The industrial.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. But the cleanup project that's been going on is still ongoing, right? Do you guys still have other parcels that you're thinking about rezoning? Have you made recommendations?
Oh, as far as the
Is
zoning
the
change?
cleanup- the cleanup
No,
project?
no.
Okay, but that
We
was
would
something
like
that's
to
going.
we're going to revisit the industrial B,
Mm-hmm.
because we felt as though that kind of came off the rails a little bit.
Yep.
We did the right thing, you know, there were people there that did not get it, so we, withdrew it, or we didn't actually withdraw it, but we, voiced opinion against it, against passing it,
Against what
Industrial
passing,
B.
what?
changing industrial B to residential.
Right.
And letting all the companies that are in there stay,
Right.
but moving forward, there were people there that got, not confused, but, they wanted option C, and option C wasn't, anything that we wanted to entertain, so, moving forward, I think we'd have to, like, poll the people that live in there a little differently, and just say, you can have this or this. There's no C. And
I
what we got
totally-
was C.
I see what you're saying, and I have so much respect for property owners' land rights.
Yes,
I
that's
really,
our-
really do. I also think we have to be forward-thinking, and we have to be, sometimes some of these conversations may not be the most comfortable, but it will certainly come up time and time again if we haven't, we should be consistent with the master plan, with our zoning, and we should be having a concerted effort to align ourselves with that effort, so that we have the town that the community has worked so hard to communicate that they want, right? The overlay district, I feel, is a matter of some urgency. Looking back over the video, I mean, I'll give John Powderly some credit. He was really a huge proponent of that back in the beginning. And there was also discussion, I went back through a lot of these meetings, there's also discussion about limiting the number of retail marijuana stores that we can have in town. So I do think we need to be considering both an overlay district and a limit on the number of retail locations that we're willing to have. I think that consensus will be 2.
So if I'm not mistaken, there is a limit, doesn't it go?
There is no limit.
I thought it went with our liquor licenses.
So
Is
no,
that true or
so
not
here's
true?
the thing, right, so I've had, there's so many stacks of paper, so I was surprised to find out, I was.
She gets her own microphone.
I was very surprised to find out, because, you know, somewhere in my mind, and I can't be the only one, because certainly other people brought it up to me, but I was under the impression that our selectmen were only going to be signing, I'm not putting them down, because they do a great job. It was at the first town meeting, we
take
thought we
care
were
of it.
only going to issue 3, okay? That there was gonna be 3, we were gonna enter into 3 community host agreements, that's what I recollect. There have been 6 signed so far, and I think the sense is, because we don't have an overlay district,
More
right?
money.
Huh?
I think more money.
Well, and it's a difficult position for them to be in as well, when there isn't a clear guideline, and if
They clearly enjoy it.
well, I think we really need to limit where these locations can go. I think there's consensus amongst us about where it should go, but before this gets out of hand, and they sign more agreements, because every time they sign an agreement, that party is grandfathered in under the existing zoning law, okay, at the time of their license application. That's my understanding.
I believe that's not correct, because certainly the site plan review portion of it has to be done individually for them anyway, that they need both permits, not one of, they need quite a few permits to operate the marijuana sort of thing. And it's not, one doesn't, just having
Community host
a
agreement.
host agreement is not enough.
But at the time they apply for the license, they've already gone through site plan,
No, they haven't.
right?
No.
Okay, so that's on the
No, we
backside
still,
of it.
there's a whole bunch of them. We've only done.
We've only done
I
one.
think- Well,
Two.
we've done site plan on 4.
We most
Well,
recently,
I
one
think
last, 2 weeks
We've
ago.
approved one, I thought,
4
No,
months ago.
no, that's a special permit. We've only done one special permit.
one special permit.
But site plan review, we've done at least.
No, you're right, we have
At least 4, I
3.
think.
or-
Yeah, at least. And
Could I say something,
I'm
Jim?
better- You have a better memory than I do.
In addition to Barbara's, moving forward with an overlay district, which I believe is, as it turns out, it looks like it's gonna be extremely important. I think that we ought to, and go hand in hand with this, that we set in place a moratorium on no further, until we see the ones that are permitted up and running and see what it does. Because one's not even running yet. Nothing's even running
Right.
or operating.
Nothing.
And we keep on going down the path. And now 6 host agreements are signed, and the first one hasn't come online yet. So how do you,
I believe it's more.
Yeah.
I
But
don't know.
whatever.
I mean,
This is
whatever.
what I was given Monday night, and we can have a copy.
No,
emailed.
but I watched it being given to you.
Yeah, okay.
And they were very confused. They didn't know.
They
how
didn't,
many
but
they
I
had
think
signed.
the administrative, we've been, they're keeping a
Can I look
list.
at that?
Yeah,
Before we
absolutely,
get-
please do.
okay.
Yeah, we can please give you a copy.
Okay.
So that's going to, so the overlay district is something that I think we definitely need to, and I don't know
That would be
the
for fall.
mechanism. We'd like to see it on the fall, but we're gonna have to have public hearings about the locations and discussions.
So the overlay district is gonna be several overlay districts for several industrial districts. Is that what you're saying?
You said several, I didn't say several.
There are several
There are.
industrial districts.
Right, but are those the locations where you want marijuana?
No, well,
It's a special overlay district,
it's allowed in industrial districts.
which is why we need to create a special overlay, so they can't go in just any industrial facility. Just because it's zoned
But-
industrial,
But it's permissible in industrial districts.
it is right now.
So if it's
And it can't
permissible,
become unpermissible.
right,
If you do a special overlay, then what you're saying is, we're going to allow marijuana operation to happen in this part of the community. That's it.
No,
No?
right
No.
now, whatever's industrial
is
can have
permissible. So they have to be several.
Even if you
overlay
change it
districts.
to
So what is interesting
funeral
is,
home only.
there's all these other communities have done all these overlay districts.
But they did it
Well,
first.
maybe they
We
did
changed
that
the
first.
Yeah.
At town meeting, because
So it's too late to do an overlay district?
In that, for that particular, for the one you're thinking about right here on Crooked Lane, yeah, it's too late.
To
Right.
prescribe marijuana facilities within an overlay district and to limit the marijuana retail establishments within a specific overlay district, yeah, it's too late.
Okay, so,
Because right now, our bylaws
Permitted.
permit it within industrial districts.
okay, so I guess what I'm understanding is, if you are in a community and you've been here for 100 years and you decide you want to change the rules, you can change the rules on land use, right?
Yes.
And I'm not saying there aren't rules that people are grandfathered based
Nope.
on prior use or prior zoning or whatever. There are certainly those cases. And I'm not speaking to this issue specific to the property on Crooked Lane. I just want to be very clear about that.
Yeah.
Although I was vocal about that on Monday, this is a community issue. And I'm more concerned about the fact that if it can happen there, where else is it going to happen? And we have to have some sort of organization around how this stuff is going to play out. It is an unknown industry, but nobody expected a 60,000 square foot building with 100 employees to be coming in a residential area. And now that it's happened, and we didn't rezone that area ahead of time, and we didn't put in an overlay, is there no mechanism by which we can, protect the integrity of our community by saying we want this happening in this area and not this area?
It's zoned industrial, right?
Yes, but that isn't to say it can't be changed.
You're right. It can be
My sense
changed,
from the
but can
Board
it
of
be
Selectmen is,
changed?
yeah,
Can it be changed?
It's not-
I mean, they've already applied to put, a facility there.
no, don't worry about the one that's already applied. Forget about him, forget about the people that have applied, those boats have sailed. What we're talking about is the future, right? Because our selectmen could sign 100 of these.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Speaking
And
of
if they're gonna
that,
sign 100 of these, we could have 100, depending on where the industrial locations, and unfortunately, I don't have my zoning map with me tonight, but, we have to find some way to, and I'd love to have a conversation with master plan to see if there's a way to connect these two dots together.
You're welcome to our next meeting. It's in a week, Tuesday.
You don't think there's a way to do this?
Who's next meeting?
I'm sure there's not. I mean, whatever's legal today is going to be legal, 2 weeks from now. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Can't
law never
change it
goes
in
back.
2 weeks.
Of course not. I'm not proposing that. I'm suggesting
And
we
you
make
can't change it
a
in 2
bylaw
weeks.
change by creating an overlay district for marijuana
in industrial.
in industrial zone.
Only in said overlay region.
Yes.
And
I,
anything that's been approved outside of that is grandfathered until it goes out of business.
Yes.
Or it lasts eternally, but at least you limit it to,
you can, I believe that that you can change the total amount. They can be restricted in their amount with a bylaw change.
The amount, you mean the,
The total number of licenses.
right, plus that would be nice.
They talked about doing that, but then they
No, they definitely
decided not
talked
to
about
do it.
doing it, and I think they want to do it.
They talked about doing that, and they were going to call, this all ties together with two more topics. They were going to have a meeting with the planning board, us, and the Board of Appeals, Don, along to see how to change the bylaw that we had from what we had with the special permit and the site plan review. And they decided to not have that meeting, and they decided to have the selectmen alone do it, decide what to do next. And they decided to get us out of the picture entirely and have the Board of Appeals do site plan review and do the special permit. Now, they did this without asking Don, and I'm not sure that Don really wants to do it at all. It's not like anybody wants to do this crap. I mean, this is a...
Well, right.
This is
So-
this is a degenerate operation,
So,
and there's no other way of putting it.
well, the thing is it wasn't, we had our first round this year, right? This was it was a new process for everybody, because the law's brand new and the
It
product's
would have
brand new.
been, it would have been so much easier if we had an applicant that had brains. It would
Well-
have gone smoothly. We've had plenty of smooth operations go through here that get, we just happen to wind up with a dummy for a test case.
Well, I also,
Who?
I'm not going to say I agree with that, but I think the thing is that I'll just jump to the chase, it's a late night, but on the bylaw proposal to switch it to ZBA, I'm not in favor. I believe that the rule was initially put in place to create a sense of balance between boards and the communities. This is a fairly controversial issue. I understand that, ZBA maybe is more accustomed to doing some of this, but there was a reason why this was laid out in the beginning. It hasn't been my favorite activity to go through some of the controversy that's come around some of these planning decisions. However, we now have some experience, and now we sort of understand things a little bit better than we did before. So I won't be voting in support of that change myself.
Well, so, next 2 weeks from now, we're going to hold our first hearing on this. I'd like to invite Don and his crew, or the ZBA, to the meeting especially. I can write the invite, it's just a paragraph like I usually do. It's not controversial or anything like that. And I'll give it to Kathy, and Kathy can give it to, just email it to Don, just to make sure that they individually will show up.
So
Because
Zink,
I really want to talk to those people at the same meeting here. I specifically don't want to talk to any ZBRAC people.
No.
I went
Except
even
for, except for our buddy here.
I gotta tell you, I had business with one of the people on the ZBRAC, and I went to his office. And there, I met 4 other people from ZBRAC at the same office, at the same time,
well,
the same day.
could I,
This is 4 out of
Really?
7.
Huh?
They had a friggin' quorum of them there. And I don't, you were missing, and Nate was missing, but, they can do what they want, but this.
I've yet to
Let's
see.
hear what Peter has to say.
I would like to, in this regard, Zink, I don't think you're being fair to them. I do think that a lot of people who are involved with the town are all friends, and they're sometimes the only people who do anything in this town. Do you know what I mean? Is a very few select people.
hard.
Yep.
It's true.
It is.
In a town with 12,000 people, you almost know everybody who gets involved. That's it, and it's like under 50, But I don't think that they had some good ideas as far as like having control though. as to what you can, when you can stop a marijuana company, where I disagreed, where what they wanna do is, they wanted to get all the way to the zoning board of appeals, and then merely say, we want the zoning board of appeals to, say no. And I don't think that that's a good, tool, because let's be fair to the companies for a second, by the time they're at that point, they've spent a lot of money. You know what I mean? It is a business, and I wouldn't want to invest all this money to get to a town, try to find some land, put deposits down, do all their stuff with with the state, and then just merely think that you have a shot and have no shot, and just that's not a.
There's no point of having a hearing if you don't have a shot. The purpose
Correct.
of a hearing is to have a fair, open,
Right.
transparent, and you should enter those discussions with an open mind.
Yeah, they believe that that the zoning board of appeals will be the spot where they say, hey, you know what, we have too many. They can do it, but I don't think that's good business, in my opinion. It should stop sooner than that.
Well,
Do you know what I mean, Zink?
That's a good point.
They might be relying upon,
Yeah.
the selectmen might be saying, hey, we'll sign 20 of these. The ZBA will stop it when they think it's enough,
If you notice
you can't do
tonight,
that.
You can't
do
count
that.
on
Will
it.
they?
We need a
I don't know.
limit.
Did
They're
you
gonna
know-
look at it objectively,
did you notice tonight on the A&R, did you look at those A&R drawings? Did you look at those lots? Is that the kind of lots that we want in Lakeville? The folks at Lakeville, over the years, went to a lot of trouble to get the bylaws to a condition where lots like that wouldn't show up, where you walk onto a little pad of land. I mean, it's a golf course architecture, and you have a long, little
Fairway,
road to
you
another
could say.
pad of land or something like that. Those occurred only because we changed the bylaws from the ZBRAC. They
Right.
changed, this was an upland circle sort of change.
Well, we
Now-
agreed to it.
Yeah, we agreed to it. We didn't really study it.
For an
We
awful
did not
long
study.
time, we tried to prevent that
Right.
from happening.
And we should have studied it harder here
That's where you
at
have
our board. We should not have
That's why the
accepted
planner.
what any other board, like ZBRAC, they came up with that plan of changing the upland circle to a front yard circle. And look what it did, right away, a couple meetings.
Oh, we've had more than that before this. That the front yard circle's already kicked in on several plans before tonight.
Okay.
No,
But
I'm
that's,
saying it's.
that's neither here nor there.
Still, we
you
have
know?
to study this better and maintain control of it,
Right.
not give up control.
There's a lot of
Not give up
bylaws,
control of
that-
anything.
there's a lot of bylaws that we put into effect over time because of issues that we have been faced with on properties that have been approved over time, that we say, well, that's not a good situation. We shouldn't go with that it shouldn't be the norm, you know? And that's why we put those bylaws into effect over 25 years.
And I have to say, you guys have done a very, very good job,
Yeah.
and the more I understand what's gone on here, the more I appreciate the good job that's been done, and I
Well-
don't think we should take pressure, because we're gonna have more and more pressure. If we think we have pressure right
Yeah.
now, give it 5 years, because the governor's getting ready to release some new plans with regard to housing, and it's gonna be a whole new world. So it is, the density
know.
thing's gonna be a huge
I know.
deal.
Airbnb will take over, within
Density's
3
gonna-
months, we'll be in the Airbnb thing, we'll be sinking in.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe summer.
This is no longer just splitting up, of doing, splitting fields in half and building houses on them.
okay, so can we circle back to the overlay district? Can we get a meeting? We can't do it because there's other people that think we can. I mean, who do we talk to confirm that it can't be done? Should we ask
What do you mean, can't be done
that it
for?
can't be done, that we can't create an overlay district for future marijuana applicants to understand that there's only these
I think
limited
we'd have to ask
communities?
town council, correct?
Well, we'd have to have a meeting, I think we need a meeting
Okay.
first without a camera,
Okay,
with a bunch of people just asking questions.
okay.
I mean, we can't do it in front of a camera.
I
We
would
can't.
Start with Nate, obviously the zoning enforcement officer.
Okay, yeah, let's have a conversation about that.
Yeah. And then we have to send those questions to the,
And then, yeah.
Can we start
Town
with an
council,
email?
yeah.
Can we ask Nate to send an email to the planning board on his opinion on whether or not an overlay district would be an option? And if it was an option, by what vehicle, or what, does he have any thoughts or what his thoughts are on that?
I disagree.
You disagree?
the problem is that I think it
What
would
you
have to
like
be,
see?
Cap the number.
I would like to do it here.
Yes, we do need to
I
cap
would
the
like to do
number.
it here.
What?
I don't wanna ask.
But what about when you're not here?
What?
We have to cap the number, and we have to limit the locations.
Okay, but we don't want any, we don't need opinions.
you'd like to do what here?
We're only asking not where it should go, but if he has, whether or not he thinks it can be done, and if he does have thoughts, would be interesting to hear what his thoughts are, right?
Nope.
So that would be town council.
Well, town council eventually, yes, but not,
Okay.
but not Nate, no.
Okay, so would we like to revise that request to send it to town council?
Yeah.
No, not
Yes.
yet. First we
First
need a
meeting.
meeting to know what to
Okay.
ask town council.
Okay.
They're not,
Okay.
the
Who
town
else is coming
council
to this
isn't gonna
meeting?
lead us.
Okay, here's where I'm coming from.
Well,
I
who do
think
you
that
want
if,
at the meeting?
I think that-
You're getting pressure from some people. Who are you getting the pressure from? Invite them to the meeting.
absolutely, well, here's the thing, I think the sense is that if, okay, what I want is I want them to stop signing agreements until we as a community have a better handle on exactly what's going on here. This is a gold rush, okay, and nobody on Johnson Drive expected a 60,000 square foot building. That ship may have sailed, I don't know the answer to that
Well,
question.
I don't think
but-
it has.
But there's other locations in town where
And
the
there's other
same
ways
thing-
of stopping.
And the retail stuff may be true, but
So-
wouldn't it be better if we could limit?
I feel like we should maybe curb this discussion,
Right.
you know,
Okay.
and just move on for the night, not to be disrespectful to anybody, but I do think that we should all do some research and come back, reconvene in the next meeting maybe, and invite some people to the meeting if we want us to be on the agenda.
Okay. I think that if, I'm just gonna share that I did speak with, one of the selectmen about this earlier this week, and, because I do want them to stop signing agreements, and I've made my opinion very clear, and people have called in and so forth, because the community does too. want them
As
to
I
stop.
have too.
Right, so, and what was communicated to me is if we think we can get an overlay district, maybe we would stop signing agreements until we got that done. And I don't know if that's gonna actually happen or not, but it would be important to have that
And that's why I
conversation soon.
think, let's all do some research, and then maybe on the May 9th meeting, we can reconvene, put this on for a discussion, and other people should be invited to have this
Great
meeting.
idea.
Because the
If it's
overlay,
gentleman in the ZBA,
the
Don?
overlay district, idea is, okay, but that just means more of them.
Why would it be
No,
more of that?
Because they're already legal, and they're already
Well,
legal
we can
in,
keep the overlay district just to
Well,
the,
the thing is, the overlay district would have to encompass all industrial properties in town. Because right now, it's permissible in all industrial properties in
Yes.
town.
No.
right.
Right? And that, so people are targeting those properties in town. So,
Which means you have to change the bylaw.
right,
Right.
no.
And that's what I said.
What we did,
And that's not an overlay.
what we did
Nope,
when,
I read it.
what we did
That's
when
not
we
a
did
change
the,
in the bylaw.
the original zoning for it, we asked the question, do we do it in an overlay district? Do we do it, how do we do this? And the consensus was that we do it in industrial areas.
I don't think
So-
anybody thought that this was gonna be what it
Well,
is.
right.
I really can, you can't
was
say
there
that
when
you
we
could,
did it.
you could have
We-
forecasted this, Brian, you know what I mean?
We did
4 or
it,
5
I
years
knew it
ago.
was
did it
gonna,
for medical.
I knew it was gonna be
we did it for medical.
But the volume
Okay.
is so
That part
much
you can
higher.
always guarantee.
And the money is so
and
big.
I knew it was gonna come out of the woodwork, it was gonna be like coming
But
out
the sheer,
everywhere.
We
the sheer
never-
volume
We
is
never
like,
dreamed it was gonna be recreational. We thought it was medical.
Oh, we didn't
put-
think
Right.
anything, no.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Well, here's just a food for thought, if the federal
I
government.
thought, when they told us it was gonna be 3, I thought it was gonna be 3.
That's what
No,
we
I'm thinking
thought.
way before that, but back when we originally set up where they went.
Yeah.
We did it because it was for medical, and everybody agreed that medical was gonna be all right.
Well, you couldn't say no. The state said you couldn't say no to medical. you had to have someplace for it. That was illegal.
That might have been too.
Well,
It
no,
was
no,
illegal to
if you
walk
put a
that.
moratorium against it, you don't have to have any.
But we didn't.
No, I know we didn't, because some people in town, chose not to go with a moratorium. Because we could have zoned it out.
I understand.
We could have, and we gave them options. We said, we zone it out, we say that it's gonna go industrial, we say it's gonna go here, and, so we gave them options that we could do as the planning board. Because all we have to do, all we can do is recommend
I
to the
understand.
powers that be,
I was at
of
the
the
town meeting
town.
when you guys recommended that it was a bad idea.
yes,
And
well,
they,
we had
Yeah.
meetings before that
Well,
here.
we still, there are other things, I mean, we still, just
know?
because we have something before us, doesn't mean we have to process it quickly. you
No,
know. Or sometimes you can even not process it. So there are plenty of other things to do, if there's something you don't like.
but
Okay.
I think that the planning board should endeavor to maintain the control over the approval of the special permit like we have been assigned, and not relinquish that responsibility to another entity, because I think we have the site plan approval. I think we have the knowledge of what we need to do with the traffic and the control of the volume of vehicles on the site. And I think that it should be, I think it should be us, the five of us, to have the approval on what we're going to allow to go on in our town.
So there are two ways of doing that. The easiest way, or the most logical way, is that nothing changes, that article is voted down.
Yeah.
And you just stay out of it. That article would have to pass with a 2/3 majority anyway, so that's why
With
it's
the
the
town
easiest way.
meeting.
At town meeting, yeah,
Right.
at town meeting. If you wanted to change it, for instance, to a matter of how many places there are gonna be in town, then you have to get the 2/3 votes to change it. But on this particular one, if you wanna make sure the planning board maintains control over the special permit, then you just, then we have the 2/3 advantage right now.
I see
So,
what you're
which
saying.
makes a huge difference.
Makes a huge difference.
In a thing like that.
Okay, so,
But it's something that we talk about, in a way that, we have to talk about it informally.
I
Okay.
think that, the zoning board of appeals, attendance is really important.
Yeah, yes.
It really is, because I know we're saying we wanna
I'll say
keep
it as
it,
nice as I
but
can.
that's only half of the battle. Do you know what I mean? We need to know, what the zoning board of appeals,
Yeah.
cause they are still doing their permits for these as well. Do you know what I mean?
For
So-
medical.
Well, they do
for
medical ones.
Nobody's applying for medical though, right?
One-
Or are they?
They're not going to.
You're right, they're not going to.
They're-
There are some, but
They're
those are.
going to stop doing.
It's so they can switch it.
But, just so we're clear, it certainly would make the argument easier if the zoning board of appeals says, you're right, we don't want it. That makes it easier. They might say, we'd prefer to do it because here, A, B, and C, and I wanna hear that. I do, I just wanna hear the argument, because I can tell you that town council wants them to do it, and it must be,
Why
they
would
do.
that
they-
be?
Wants
they're
ZBA.
They want the ZBA to do it because I guess everywhere else in the whole state, they do it.
That's not true. That's not true.
Well,
It's done, it may be done in other communities, but it's not done in every community.
Okay, well.
Just saying,
I think it's not the norm. Would that be a
Yeah,
better
yeah.
statement?
Well, we
And I
weren't
think there
able
was a
to talk to
reason.
town council anyway.
No, you're right. Just like a lot of other things around town, we only hear about it once it's already been initiated and started. Instead of saying, "Hey, here's what we think. What do you guys think?" You know, that was never a factor. It was just said, "Oh, by the way, something that we want for this town meeting is this." You know,
Right.
that's how things work in this town. So, but.
Right.
But I can tell you that the selectmen clearly want the ZBA to handle it. They want, the town council, in our case, they want the ZBA to handle it. The zoning board review advisory committee is, whatever you feel about it, they're, in strong favor that the ZBA handle it because it's a special permit. And if you break it all down, special permits are handled by them.
But there was a reason why it was initially set up this way.
True.
And the initial reason was to have some additional oversight, additional coverage.
Yeah.
That was as it was explained to me. And so I have to believe there's still value in that. I certainly believe in the distribution of powers in government, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't be opposed to somebody being added. We've learned so much. It's been an amazing year with all of the things that we've had to go through here.
My personal feeling, I'll tell you right now, is I want them to take it. And the reason being is that I don't want it. I really don't. This job's hard enough without hearing the next 4 or 5 or 6
A
of
lot
these.
of grief for nothing.
It is. It's absolutely thankless. No matter what we do, we're wrong. So
You
it's
get kicking the slats.
right.
Did you have any idea of how Don feels about it?
I do not.
You know?
That's why I'd love to hear.
They
You
didn't
know.
even ask him.
The other thing is like too. They only meet
didn't
once a
even
month,
ask.
Yeah.
and that's a really tall order. He might be like, we have to restructure everything we do because you're almost doubling his workload. Would you say that's accurate? It could.
Your workload?
Well, I guess it would depend.
Your workload?
I guess it would depend if there's a restriction on how many. I mean, if there can only be 3 or 2, once you get them.
There isn't.
Right now, there's no
But that's what we
restriction.
need to be working
Yeah.
towards. We've got to do that. And I don't know exactly how to get that done, but we really have to do it. We have to limit the retail, we have to limit how many they're gonna sign. That's it.
I personally have faith in that board as well, and I think that they would act in the best interest of the town. It's occupied by townspeople just like us. I know a few.
Those are ugly, those were ugly lots we just signed.
Yeah, but you know what?
I made the motion to sign it, I understand that.
You
And they
can't
were
fight it
legal.
though.
If they're legal, we sign them.
Exactly.
But God, were they ugly.
So we're going to invite the ZBA to the next meeting for discussion on the change to the bylaw.
Just to make sure that they're there, and hopefully no one else will come. Oh, I'm serious.
All are welcome to our meetings, Inc.
The other
No,
thing,
All are welcome,
so I think, you know, if,
not people who know.
but it wouldn't hurt our
noses
feelings
run
if they
and
didn't come.
And they move their lips while they're reading.
so I'm moving right on to the next
What?
subject, which is when you get lemons, you have to make lemonade.
All
right.
we still have more subjects.
I know, Zink, but let me get through the short list because we gotta talk about this. This is coming, my next suggestion is for next town meeting, we take on a summer project of trying to get some architectural standards written into our bylaw. Because you know what? That dollar store is gonna go up and it's the best time right now to have an honest conversation with the community about do they want some limitations on the types of materials. We've been talking about this for years and years. And we wanna maintain the integrity and the, you know, character of the town. It's time to start having that conversation. We're gonna have a lot more development here. Dollar Street isn't the first or the last. And we had, you know, I felt like we had very limited control over that. And if town had the architectural standards in place, they would have to abide by us before they came to us. And if the dollar store didn't like the design and couldn't handle changing their design, then, you know.
Oh well, when you look up Dollar Tree on Yahoo and you
Yeah.
get a quick snapshot of the 100+ stores, they vary from cinder block with the green letters to
Right.
marble columns and lions,
Right.
probably in Bel Air. They have.
They can vary them.
They can vary them.
And we were kind of
Yeah.
told that basically the steal isn't gonna happen if they
Right.
don't get fair. So I don't know if anybody else is interested. I think there's a lot of work to be done on that. But seize the time because we have the dollar store going up. It's the time to do it. That's my 2 cents on that one.
I think we should have some standards.
Yeah.
I think possibly after the town meeting is a good time to start at this, because like, do you know what I mean? This town meeting is done, work towards the fall.
This is what I'm saying, the work towards the fall,
And
yes.
right after the town meeting in June, we could start to like formulate,
Like-
how we wanna,
Yeah.
attack it.
Yeah.
So that we have something for August and September to present and say, this is what we'd like, you know?
Okay. So, should we put that on the agenda for June, are you guys would you guys entertain a motion if I was to ask if we could add that discussion, maybe agenda item to June?
Sure.
Because I know it's not a top priority at the moment, but gotta get working on it. And there's a lot of people that spend a lot of time on this, we need to talk to them.
I'll vote for you if you vote for my next one. It's simple politics, it's Watertown politics.
Yeah,
Kathy, can you add that to the agenda for June? So that, and maybe we'll be thinking about that coming up to that in the next month. Okay, I'll stop talking now, even though I have one more thing, but that's okay.
Okay, 40R, the train station project. I noticed that there was a vote. The Affordable Housing Restriction Agreement came through from DHCD to the town of Lakeville. Now, this is one that the planning board is the plan approval authority on. And just so you know, what we have, and it seems to be in order. There's one part I didn't quite understand about how come the mortgage rates were different from one part of it to another part of it. And that's why I gave it to Barbara, so she could figure it out for later, but that doesn't really affect us. But the interesting thing is that our agent for our agency, that our monitoring agent is the Middleborough Housing Authority. At the last, we've voted as a town to have a housing authority and to have, but we never, they never appointed one, or we never voted for one, or never got one. So we're using Middleborough Housing as, you know, in our municipality.
Do we pay them? The town pay, our
They
town
probably
pays
have
them?
a fee,
They
yeah.
get paid out of this, yeah. They don't do this for free.
Right.
They get paid out of the project. But just so you know, as part of our project is, our agent is the Middleborough Housing Authority, instead of the Lakeville Housing Authority, which we had voted but never appointed. And that's like a 10-year-old thing, because that came up what do you call it, 2 master plans ago, was one of the recommendations of having the housing
no
authority.
kidding. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe it was only one, I don't, I wasn't sitting there then. But at any rate, this is just one of those things that, you know, that I thought was worth noting, because
There's a
it's our
great
project.
deal that goes into what they have to do to me, and I think it would be an expensive proposition for a town to have our own housing authority. I'm not saying oppose it, I'm just saying,
That's a very good
You know-
point, but I saw that we already had another one come up. Now, this
Yeah.
isn't just, if it was only Palucci and LeBlanc's project, okay, that would be all right.
Mm-hmm.
But we already have another one behind that, and I am pretty sure that this one is going to include that.
okay, so one thing, we can talk about it later.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
You
the
know-
marijuana one? Huh?
Yeah, well, this property,
Really?
yeah, I
No,
think
that's
this is
not,
40.
no, it's not, those lots are already sold.
What?
Those are already sold.
No, they're not sold.
Yes, all 4 of those are, well, they've got contracts on them, I believe.
We haven't
I think they're
we
coming out,
haven't
they're
created the
coming
lots
out,
yet.
I think they're coming out of 61A.
They're coming out of 61A after they pay the 61A. The 61A
Yeah.
is at 75 grand. So we held this up. We didn't sign the A&R for this because they didn't control the land yet, because it was still in 61A. And it's a big deal that we'll have coming up to us for the
Yeah.
next one. So like I'm saying, it all ties together. But this, just because that lot happens, 2 of these would be exactly what you saw from Turner.
Okay, and so I don't wanna make this too long, I won't get into the whole thing, but, I was at Serpide last night and was with Rita, and I asked the question to the group about, because of the senior housing, right? So we have an age-restricted location in an overlay district where there's been a proposal of a 40B, right? Senior housing's a huge problem. I wanted to know if we had the opportunity to.
But that was in an overlay.
Yes, but I'm rounding about how I got to the conversation. And basically, the person that worked for Serpide asked us a few questions and said, we've met our criteria, we don't have to approve any more 40Bs at the moment.
We do?
Yep,
We-
we do
Really?
not.
Did
do
we get
not.
those questions answered by town council about the hospital property, and that it was for 55 and over, but now they're going for the 40Bs? That it was a specific zoning. I thought I did 3 questions.
You know, I actually had talked to Nate about that because I have to have authority to ask. And I thought he was gonna touch base with you about them.
There is no
So you told
protection
me.
for that. That's the answer. There's no protection.
Didn't hear from him, but.
Yeah,
The
that's,
40, yeah, 40B,
We can do it.
it's
but there is an
it's
opportunity.
waived. the
But
zoning.
however, it is waived. However, there are cases where you can make an argument, and if you make a substantial, valuable argument, which I think for senior housing, you can make that argument, because there's the statistics to support it. And there's also concerns at the state level about what's happening for senior housing. But it would lower the profit margin substantially, because you'd have to have single floor housing, and
Yeah.
density would have to be increased.
Yep.
So, which, but we can talk more about that.
What else we got?
No, and I don't have anything, on Crooked Lane,
Yeah,
was I don't know if everybody was
Well, let's talk
caught
about
up to that. This, do we have a new proposal yet from
Crossville?
Crossler?
I do not believe so.
This side, no. I don't think he,
no, I think this is just sort of a hypothetical. He's, in response to Monday's night's meeting, I think he wanted to communicate sort of some other options, because what was previously communicated on the location for that building is now he's suggesting maybe an alternative location for that building. And he wants us to understand sort of I have to digest all that. I'm not ready to really talk about that too much. I did have one piece of good news
So-
that I think, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm gonna change the subject, Mark, so go ahead.
That's okay. Well, I'm on it.
You're-
I'm all set too.
Well, I just want to have a quick moment of celebration, because the governor did approve the phase 1 of the railway line. It is funded, it got funded on Monday, Earth Day, and it was pretty interesting to see the guy who had been working on this project for 25 years. They didn't know that he was going to approve it, it was a surprise.
Whoa.
So they were really excited. Construction's gonna be beginning very soon, the land acquisitions are in place, the money's there, this project is gonna move a lot faster than they're talking about right now. Delivery for full ridership in September of 2023, with construction beginning after the first of the year 2020. So the interesting piece about the conversation is that when the phase 1 line is done, which is going to come down through Stoughton, into Taunton, the crossover into Middleborough will become obsolete. And there is a possibility that the train station could return to Lakeville, or that the Lakeville somehow, I'm not sure, I didn't get to ask a lot of questions, but the question was asked, and it is possible that the station could be returned to Lakeville. So, and that's years and years and years down the road, but nevertheless, I think it's exciting that could be happening, and it's been a long time in the making, right? South Coast Rail. You think it's not gonna happen?
No, it's not that. I'm opposed a lot,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, for a couple of reasons. It doesn't,
I don't think the ridership pays for itself, it's not the greatest tax dollars
Yeah.
spent, but.
it is the kindest way you could possibly say what he just said. The other, it spoils a neighborhood having trains running through it.
So, I would never have moved here if there wasn't a train, because I worked in town. I wouldn't even consider moving to a community that didn't have commuter rail.
No, but the trains now, you know the 11 o'clock train?
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna
I
have
hear
them
it.
all day.
Oh, yes, we are.
And on the tracks right by,
Yes, I
My
know.
backyard,
Right our backyard.
okay.
my backyard.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, mine too. Can almost see the lights.
Do we need a motion?
This is gonna use the track that goes through the Cedar Swamp, that one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, your backyard too?
I don't mind the train, actually, it's fine. They're
I
all
just, I just don't like it's going from a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit to a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit.
that's pretty fast on those
That's a big
tracks. I
change.
mean,
Really?
The reason it was a 10-mile-an-hour
70.
limit is because the ties were so degraded. I could see the trains going through at 10
Oh,
and listed
geez,
like
you're
this. 'Cause
kidding.
just they filled in swamp to do it. It's probably 100 years old, it's 80 years old for what they're running on, so.
Yeah. I wonder
needs
why they
work.
call it Cedar
lot of work.
Swamp.
I think it was $1 billion, something like that.
Do we need a motion for this? Or is that just something we say?
That's
what it
already
is?
on the agenda.
Done deal, okay.
Yeah.
Can I make the last motion?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll
Second.
second.
All in favor?
It was a race to
Aye.
second.
Aye.
Okay.
Ding.